my phone, but time ain't the kind you wanna do alone. And how many times can I fall down on my knees and cry while I'm fucking high?
Look at that.
Feeling dry. I've watched the whole world pass me by, and I'm floating like a barrel, and I'm praying like a saint. And how many times can I be what I ain't? But if there ever was a reason that I should keep off to myself, then I'd like for you to tell me why you'd set me on your shelf. And what kind of dark and magic, or really is it that you use?
And we're live, right, Chase?
That's right, we are live.
Man, I have the honor to do that this week, and we're live. And of course, we've got our man Josh Merritt in here.
Oh, what's up?
Not a whole lot, man. What's
doing
up with
all right?
you? It has
Living,
been
man.
popping, made the news and everything.
Yeah, man.
Guys,
cool.
if you're just tuning in, these albums we have here in front of us, Josh has just personally signed the inside of for us, and we are going to be giving these away live at some point during the show, probably at 2 separate points. So you want to stay tuned in because you can't win if you're not watching.
That's right.
Yes, sir. You got it all shared,
I
man?
think I got it shared. There we go.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So,
guys?
how's it? So last time we had you on, you were still producing the album, and
Right.
we were deciding when you wanted to actually release it with all COVID and stuff going
Yeah,
on.
that was
so
the big thing.
walk us through the rest of that, man. How'd the rest of that go?
So, yeah, we got it done November 2019, and the plan was to put it out in March of 2020, which is when
Beginning
the
pandemic.
hell, when hell
Ground zero.
was over, yeah. So we held off and held off, and we held off and we held off, and then finally I got to about June, I guess, and the team that I'd kind of put together or whatever to help me release and everything, everybody was like, "Nah, we still need to wait." And finally, I was just like, "No, I'm ready to put it out. I'm sick of sitting on this thing, dude." I mean, we started recording this record in 2017, man. So I've been sitting on these songs like an egg, since 2017.
Incubating them for 3
and then we got
years.
it done.
And you're handcuffed.
Yeah, and then it's like I'm sick of waiting, man. Like, forget about it, dude.
Yeah.
Let's just throw it out there and see what happens. And I had a little bit of knowledge behind me too. It wasn't like I was just like, forget it, let's put it out. I'd seen a couple artists that I follow and stuff who'd put records out early on during the pandemic, and actually had it was a good thing because people were sitting at home where they could actually listen to music.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's first instinct was, I'm not going to be able to go out and tour and promote this record, which is, I thought about that too.
Right.
But, you're not going to be able to tour and promote the record, but you can still, like, almost even more so PR the shit out of the record. You know what I'm saying? And get the actual record in people's hands and get people to listen to the record. So it worked out, man. It's been great. It's been good.
That's
man.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You so the story behind these, you brought these for me and Chase as presents, along with some homemade Kentucky moonshine.
That's right. I don't know who made that. I didn't.
Whew, Adam put some hair on your chest there. Whoever made it, good job. First of all,
Hell yeah.
But me and Chase had actually already bought these just to support you.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to do the same thing me and Chase did, where can they go for that?
Yeah, the web
I
joshmerritt.com, man.
got you. Just click on the
best
Josh
place
Merritt
to
that
go.
we tagged you in this post.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
the
it'll be
website
right
link
there.
is in the description as well. So
Oh,
if you click on that link, it
There
takes
we
you
go.
right to the album. Can't
It
miss
does. It takes you right to it, and you can there's a link to get to the streaming platforms.
Yep.
And then there's a second button that takes you to the merch store where you can buy a CD.
Yeah. And a badass hoodie.
Yeah, we just put out a new hoodie we put out a new music video last Thursday for How Many Times. And I've been sitting on that for a long time too, waiting to put that out.
Before we go any further, I watched the trailer for that.
Yeah.
So I kind of know the backstory, but for anybody who hasn't watched the trailer but wants to know the backstory for that video, because it's definitely a different take on a typical music video.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, why don't you fill them in on why that music video is recorded the way it is.
Yeah, my friend Bob Bradley, he called me one time. This has been like 3 years ago. he called me, and Bob doesn't live in town. Bob was down in the Keys or lived in the Keys, and
Not a
and,
bad place to live.
No, man, no. I should say Bob passed away about 2 months ago, man.
Oh, dang
yeah,
it.
man.
Was it COVID related?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh,
That I hadn't heard.
No,
of-
weird. It's always the first.
Yeah, man.
question
No,
on
it
your
is
mind.
though,
Yeah.
because I mean, I know a bunch of people that have
Right.
passed with
It's
it.
COVID's the new cancer because it used to be, was it cancer?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows someone with cancer. But,
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, he passed away a couple months ago, and it was way out of the blue and just out of nowhere. But anyway, I bet it's been a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Bob was in town, and Bob came through town a lot. And when he was in, he always checked to make sure, see if I had a show or whatever, and he'd always come through. Well, Bob he was one of those guys that liked to get to the show early, and he wanted to be there to talk your head off while you were
Right.
setting up and
Of
plugging
course.
stuff in and everything, which I loved.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, this particular day, Bob called and he was like, "What's going on? Where you at?" And no, I'm sorry, he was blowing my phone up is what was happening. He called me like 8 times, and I was like trying to get my house straightened up. I don't know why. I'm OCD like
Yeah.
that, so like I like to before I'm going out for the night, I like to come home to a clean house. And at the time, I just lived by myself,
Yeah.
so. I like to get my place straightened out. And I was trying to get everything done and rush out the door. I was running late, and Bob was calling me. And finally, I answered. I was like, "What's going on, Bob? Like, what's happening?" I'm trying to get out the door, and he's like, "Man, I'm down here. Where are you at?" And I said, "I'm on my way." I said, "I'm loading the dishwasher right now." And he took this like long pause and so seriously said, like, "I didn't know rock stars did the dishes, bro." And I just laughed, and he was joking, but I just laughed. I was like, "Well, they do if they live by themselves."
Yeah. Somebody's got to eat.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, like for real, it stuck in my head, and I thought, not that anybody, like, it sounds almost a little pretentious to say, like, people like, I wonder if people ever think that I'm just a normal guy. It wasn't that idea of it. It was, it was more just like, I go out and see shows, buddies of mine or people that I know or whatever. And, I even assume when you're just looking at somebody on a platform, you're like, you just assume like, wow, this guy's.
You get to see this one 30-minute or hour-long part of their day where they are a rock star and everybody's eyes are on them and they've got it all together. They're done up, the whole nine. So you just assume like, that guy didn't do dishes. It's not even on your mind. You're like, this guy sings kick-ass songs for live audiences. That's what this guy does.
This is what he does, and this is who he is.
He doesn't put his underwear on one leg at a time. There's no way.
He didn't change diapers before he came here earlier. He didn't. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't in an argument with someone before he came here. None of those, and that's the whole point of the video. It was more of an I was hoping that people captured that out of it. Is that this person, whoever this person is, not just your fellow musician, but if you go to your local 7-Eleven, the guy behind the counter, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's not who he is. He's a person that's probably dealing with stuff too, and
humanizing it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it as human as possible, and I think it worked, man.
But the whole album comes out that way, which is really cool to see. The music video reflect that as well too, instead of like trying to making that as something it's not, to appeal to like a pop culture fan base rather, which I thought was really authentic too. Like I saw the trailer and I was like, dang, let me go to YouTube real quick and see this now.
Yeah, man.
It came out really nice, and I think the people that appreciate your music will like appreciate that double time.
Thank you, man.
It like I said, you guys hit the nail on the head perfectly. I mean, it brings more humanity to a time that sometimes the rock star shows, the music videos are so wrapped up in super high budget movie material CGI that like it has no meaning to it because it's all kind of fake around them. This is not really what this song means or what it's about. It's really just flashy, just so it makes its way onto TV or gets a lot of clicks on YouTube rather than showing a more honest kind of approach to like what a music video can be. But that's not everybody. Of course, some people, like really want to make good music videos, but
for sure, man.
It seems like it can be a trend, like for people to like just buy a music video basically, where they just throw a bunch of money at it to make it really popular rather than try to draw something from the music that's already there. And I think that the video did it perfectly, and I
Thank
I
you,
like
man.
that because like I said, the album itself is very honest, very modest. It's not trying to be something that it's not, and it's got different parts of it that are very strong emotionally, and then other ones that don't grip you as emotionally, that are more laid back and just easy to listen to.
Yeah.
And that's something that a couple people brought to me. They're like, man, I love Josh's new album. It sounds really good. It's got that classic country feel. Obviously it's produced really, really well. You couldn't ask for much more than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
how many people, to their credit, can say like they have an album that's that pristine? I mean, that was one of the things that shocked me the most when I heard the album. Was like, I don't know what to expect. This is your first album.
Right.
You put everything you could into it.
Right.
You've been working on it for years, and I really wanted to approach it with as open, being as biased as I am, hanging out with you and stuff like that. It's hard to be a little unbiased sometimes
Yeah.
and be like, it's great, man. But it was so nice to hear an album that had all those elements in it in a time that we're in right now.
Right.
And it felt really good to listen to the album. That's why it just stays in my car now, so it plays all the time.
I
But,
appreciate that, man.
was that really what you were aiming for whenever you developed just the rest of it as a cohesive story like it is? It's like a storytelling.
I wanted it to be from the get go. Like I knew that I wanted it to be like a concept album, is what you call that, and it's like I knew when I called Shannon about producing the record, that's the first thing I told him. I said, I've got a concept album that I want to do, and I had like 3 of the songs written already that were kind of just on the wayside, ready for something, and the rest of them were written specifically for the album. Yeah. So I wrote The High. Actually, it was the first one, and when I wrote The High, that's when I was like, wow, like I was really proud of that song, and the message hit for me. I was like, I think this is going to reach people, and I was like, man, I could hear a whole album done around this particular song. So I just wrote it in from there.
That's awesome.
Man, I know we talked about it last time, but I can't get over it.
Yeah.
So, like, how many times is by far, not even by far, because The High is really good too, but how many times is my favorite song on the album? And you played it for us last time you were here.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd heard it.
Yeah.
Was when you played it for us here. And I brought it up how I was like, you say fucking in the song.
Yeah.
And I asked you, like, did anybody tell you not to? And you got into how, like, they did, but they were like, is that the best way to express it? And you're like, yep. And then they're like, all right, let's rock it then.
Yep.
And now when I listen to the song, it's like, and drug addiction is never something I've ever coped with or had to deal with or anything of the sort. But when I hear the song, it's like I relate to it because I just hear I hear the cry in it. You know what I mean? Like even when I was telling Brooklyn when I got home, the day that I messaged you, I was like, bro, this song slaps. Like it stays on the radio all day. And I got home and I was like, Brooke, you've got to listen to this song. And I played it for her and she's like, it's a good song. And I was like, no, you're not like. Just the way you said that, I can tell you're not appreciating it.
It sounds like me. It sounds like me talking to my girlfriend about a song.
Listen to the way.
Are you listening to this?
Yeah, it's like, did you hear how he ended that chorus with saying, "How many times can I be what I ain't?" I was like, does that not just like rip your heart out? Like, and she's like, no, it's a good song. I was like, yeah. But it's like that whole. Usually, what is it called in between the choruses?
Like the pre-chorus or the bridge, you can call it.
Yeah, usually the bridges are kind of like the hard hitting, like the storyline part. But with this song, it's almost like the chorus is. Yeah. And you keep bringing it back to, I've got her number in my phone, and she sells it by the ounces, and like, I like the part where you say, I dress up for the town, and I take the first one down. And I'm like, shit, man, like. I've never done coke in my life, but it's like
why? No, I'm just
well, I'm about to, so I can write this to the song now.
No, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh hell! But dude,
no, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Cocaine.
Oh my God.
I had a good friend of mine. Of course, I've been sober 2 years now, man. I'm awful proud about that. But
congratulations.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. But I had a friend it's been years ago, but he was telling me he tried everything at one time or whatever, and he got into the discussion of Coke, and he's like, Coke, you shouldn't do it. You should stay away from it unless it's like offered to you.
Yeah.
Or you're at a party, or you're, doing anything.
If it's
ever.
free, go ahead and take
yes.
it. Yeah,
Never buy
also,
it.
if it's around, just try it. I mean, don't ever try it, but if like it's there.
I feel like that's a lot of people's first experience with it is someone offered it to me.
Yeah, I was at a party. We were having a great time. I was a little drunk.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're comfortable talking about it,
Yeah.
obviously a lot of the songs on the album are centered around kind of the drug addiction and like the pain and the sorrow and like that almost like that's the thing that comes through the most, I think, is the helplessness. Like, especially with how many times can I fall down on my knees and cry while I'm fucking high?
Right.
Like, and it just hits home, man. Like, there's no other way I can describe it. If you haven't listened to the song, please go listen to it. It's phenomenal. But so like, walk me through like how that was introduced to your life, and then what that journey was like up until 2 years ago, and now here we are sitting with a clean and sober Josh Merritt doing amazingly in his music career.
The record itself, it's actually about my mom's drug addiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to keep that loose. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to be a, I've did a lot of things in my life, but like Coke never was a problem. I've sampled a lot of things, but alcohol was my big drug of choice.
Yeah.
Man, I drank
And
a
it's
lot,
the most accessible one by far.
and I just drink a lot.
A lot.
When I shouldn't,
Yeah.
when I should, I just drink a lot. So, but the album was my mom when I was, I guess from the time I was 5 years old until I was 8 years old. She went through this time in her life where she had this horrible drug addiction, and her and my stepdad at the time, my ex-stepdad, they got so strung out. I mean, they were about as strung out as you can imagine, two people being, and it ended when I was 8 years old. Me and my younger brother got taken away from her, and and got placed with our dads. And so anyway, that's what the album focuses on. It's interesting though, because I wrote most of those songs when I was at a time in my life when I was sampling things and partying and doing things, and it never got out of control for me. But I think I wrote the songs from a place where I was kind of thinking back about how bad that lifestyle could get. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because even my mom and the people that she ran around with and my stepdad, that I think when I wrote those songs, I was thinking about how when they got into doing those things, it probably started the same way or from the same places where I was, where it was just like
fun and loose,
very casual, very
Right.
weekend. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a
Very
problem, I
just
got it.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Very, you know what I'm saying?
Time to cut loose.
And then and then led into something else. So I don't think I've ever talked about it like that. As far as the album, as far as that, I think I wrote those songs in a time when I was in the weekend stages of where I
Right.
was drinking a lot and having a lot of fun and experimenting with things. But I think in the back of my head, I had to have been thinking about how I wonder if this is how it started for them. And another
kind of
interesting,
walking those same footsteps without realizing it.
for sure. So I'm 31 now. We put the album out. So I wrote 2017, I would have been 27. That's when we started recording. So I probably wrote the songs between 2000. I'm doing a lot of math. 2015 to 2017 is when I probably wrote those songs. So I was around 25, 26 years old. Well, my mom was 26 years old when we got taken away from her. And
Wow.
I do remember reflecting during that time and thinking about that part of it too, because I remember thinking, I've never held a grudge against my mom or we've always had a great relationship. It never was like, because I was just a kid when those things happened and I didn't understand them all the way. And even after I did, never held a grudge against my mom or thought anything bad about her for those things. But I'd say later on in life there was a chip on my shoulder about it. You know what I'm saying? And I think I never let her know that, but I think I would subtly bring it up if anything bad happened.
Yeah.
She did. No,
Right.
She probably definitely did. And I think I had that chip on my shoulder until I reached that 25, 26-year-old age.
Kind of understood.
Well, when it kind of hit me that, like when I got to that age, and I had my daughter when I was 26, so
Wow.
which was a big part of the whole
Right.
thing too. It was a part of me getting sober and all that stuff. But like 25-ish, I hadn't had my daughter yet, and I was just full. I had nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? I had nothing but myself to live for at the time. But I remember thinking, like, I've always thought of my mom's addiction as like she was this grown up and I was this little kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, man, she should have known better.
It was
blah,
almost
blah.
like
until I got
innocence versus villain.
Yeah,
Kind of like,
yeah.
why are you doing this to me? Kinda,
yeah, exactly. Until I got to that 25-year mark.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it took getting all the way up to that 25-year mark and then looking around and saying, well, man, I never did some of the crazy stuff that she did, but I've tried coke. I've
Right.
tried, I've tried ecstasy, you know what I'm saying? And I don't do those things all the time, but I enjoyed it. And I'm out here living my best life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I got to thinking,
Blow
I was
up.
like, what's the difference? What's the difference here, man? And thinking of where I was as a 25-year-old, where all I wanted to do was have fun still, you know what I'm saying? And it was then that all that came into retrospect, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I didn't
The
hold
mirror
that grudge
kinda.
away from her. I'm like, wow, she was 26 years old at the time, which until you get there, it sounds like it's not that old. You know, once you
Right.
get there, how
Yeah.
old are you guys?
I'm 24. I think he's
25, so
25.
I'm
Yeah,
right
so you
there,
guys know what
yeah.
I'm talking
Right.
about,
Yeah,
right?
it's-
Like, you know what I'm saying?
There's definitely we all have this like image of like what we think adults are as kids.
No, for
You know,
sure.
we think they've got it all figured out. We think that they know right from wrong. But as you get to older and older, you realize you're like, wait a second, we really all don't figure it out at the same rate. Some people figure it out when they're 19.
Some people never
don't
figure it out.
Yeah, some people never figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's just so crazy that like so many people have the same experience where like they get into their mid 20s and they start to have realizations where they're either like, okay, into gear or out of gear. I've seen people that check out at like 25, 26, 27.
Yeah, man.
Where they're just like, life shit, I'm not where I want to be, and I'm going to give up instead of like pushing through it and
Right.
finding a way through. Okay, I'm halfway, I'm halfway almost to
Some good shit, but I
that
tell
dog
you
will
what,
hunt, boy.
if
That
I
dog
don't
will
come out of
hunt.
here with a beard matching yours, I'm gonna be shocked.
yeah.
I turned my face red. That was a big one.
I told you I was sipping it earlier.
I've been like tasting, and that one I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna take a drink.
That dog will hunt. Son.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Oh, whew. Didn't want anybody to think I had COVID in here.
Oh.
Over here coughing because of Sean.
Can't blame that stuff's good. It's good though. But yeah, it's definitely a weird situation that everybody who gets to that age finds himself in. I know a lot of people may reflect sooner in their lives, depending on how far they've accomplished. Some people, everybody just goes at different rates, right? You know, some people had like the model parents that, you know, raised them properly. They were given the perfect moral compass, and they come from that, you know, standard, you know, atomic family, and they get to 20, 21 years old, and they almost feel ready to be an adult.
Yeah.
And they don't know it, but they have so many more tools than some people don't have.
Right.
You know, which, you know, goes to show you that, like, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are. Eventually, there's connections that you're going to have to make. You're going to either have to decide, okay, do I take, you know, the route that I saw growing up? Am I, like Jacob says so much, my reaction of that environment?
Right.
You know, or do you just kind of find your own path? You know,
Right.
there's always people that are the exact opposite of that environment, and then there's
Product
people,
or a reaction.
yeah, and
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, man. You either dive into the behavior or you run as far away from it as you can.
You accept that as normal. That's your reality. That's all you know.
And you know,
or
people I grew
the
up
opposite.
with in my environment. That's and I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people that are like that grew up a very poor rural America like I did, and then grew up very poor rural America also in the drug epidemic like I did. And the kids that were around, because we go over to these flop houses and stuff all the time, and everybody it was weird. If anybody that's never been through it, my mom at one time, you'd go over to somebody that had the drugs house on a Saturday night. There's a lot of people there, and their kids were there, and there was like a room in the back for the kids, and we would play like that. Yeah. So anyway, those kids, I mean, those are some of those kids are still friends of mine to this day. Yeah. But everybody that in that situation, they either dove into that lifestyle, or some of them I know are very successful, very, you know what I mean, and very. Live a very clean life, and because they decided they never wanted to be like that. You know?
I talked about this either on the last one or the time before that, but I was with a girl that was very much a drug addict, and we would go get her drugs at drug houses like traps, and that was the first. It's one thing to see like these shows like Hoarders on TV and like. These how drugs are made shows where it like takes you through all the stages and stuff. And then it's another thing to like be there. Yeah, man. And it's like for someone who's I've lived a very, very sheltered life, thankfully, and I've never fucked with drugs. I just don't care. Right. I'd much rather go 4-wheeling on the weekends. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And so for me to dive into that world because I wanted to be around her, and it opened my eyes in ways that I can never imagine. And so for you to be like, when you go to a drug house, like there's a lot of people there. You're not wrong. Like there's people in every square inch of those houses, and they're all just laying around usually.
Well, they're there for a reason. They're there because they have an addiction. And
they're there to get drugs and hoping that someone lights up while they're there so that they just all share.
Right, for sure.
And they're always gross.
Yeah, man.
I've never been in a clean drug house.
Addiction's a sad thing, man.
It's rough, man.
It brings out the worst in people, and that's the thing. People that I've seen, the song "The High," I've said a bunch of times. I wrote that about. To me, and this is just my personal observation, there's a beginning, middle, and an end when it comes to addiction, like drug addiction for one. The beginning is that party stage where you're using to have fun. There's a middle stage where you're using...
just a nip to get me through.
Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling low today.
Yeah, and then the third stage is... where you're really hitting rock bottom. You're very much dependent. Right. And I wrote The High about the first part of the third stage. Yeah. So if you listen to that song, like the first verse is somebody that's just getting into a place where like they have to have this stuff, man. And
knowing there's a damn good chance you'll never see your kids again.
Yeah, man. And that's exactly where it leads. My granddad used to tell my mom all the time, said you're either going to end up in the pen or you're going to end up dead, and unfortunately once you're so far in with these hard drugs that are, there's certain drugs out there that I've never seen anyone live coherently with after a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You think of meth, okay? You think of methamphetamine.
They always think they have it under control.
Everyone does. And here's the deal. I know people that smoke weed that are very successful and that, can operate under those things.
Yeah, tons.
A lot more than you think.
Weed is not a drug to me. And I'm like I said, I don't smoke weed. It's never appealed to me. It's just never been my drug of choice. But I am an advocate for marijuana use. I could, because I have friends that I know I've seen firsthand how much it helps them, especially guys with. I got a friend that was a sergeant in the Army, and has served 3 tours, has PTSD horribly, and I know how much it helps him. I know how much it,
anxiety,
what it does.
A lot of mental disorder.
Yeah, man, how much it does for him. I've got another friend that's got a kid that has seizures and uses CBD oil, and You know, they've tried medications. They were paying $4,000 every few months for these medications that
Fucking
weren't
robbery.
working. That weren't working, and they drop a few drops of the CBD oil under her tongue, and she's normal. Like she has no symptoms of, you know. So anyway, I'm an advocate for that stuff. What I haven't seen is seen somebody that uses meth on a regular basis whose life doesn't completely fall apart. I've never seen it. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if, because here's the thing, and I could be totally wrong, but I've never seen an example of like a millionaire who then develops a meth addiction and just keeps sailing down that road.
Well,
it could be possible.
Well, I can tell you why. A lot of it is that methamphetamine is a cheaper. It's a poor man's cocaine. You know what I'm saying? People that, you know, a lot of upper class you use cocaine and they have access to very good cocaine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not all cut down in fiberglass
snortable
and all that.
a lot easier. And
methamphetamine, man, somebody that knows how to make it, you can go to the store with $100 and make, you know, probably $10,000 worth of meth in your bathtub. You know what I'm saying?
OPD just busted about 150 pounds worth. Did you see
Isn't
that?
that
Well,
crazy?
hell,
They
I
had
heard,
some actually, like for the first time ever, they had some solid rifles on the table. Like those are rifles I would be proud to own. I was like, damn, look at you guys.
those are the kind you lose in the boating accident.
Yeah, those are nice. Those are some Daniel Defense sitting there. Like, shit.
I hated that because
Good for
I
you.
knew two of the guys involved, and I went to school with them. I remember their names.
really?
And,
I didn't even see names on there.
Yeah, there was names on there, and
I didn't either. I didn't see who it was.
I hated it because two of them were individuals that I knew that could have made better lives for themselves.
Yeah.
And I know one of them was particularly troubled, and I hate that because I saw people around that person try to get them help, and they wanted help, but sometimes the stability is not there.
Right.
And you know, when you are backed into a corner, and you feel like there are no other options, you're going to take that route of, let's just run to California and get all these drugs and come back. Let's just, maybe I can make a new life for myself if I just make a bunch of money and then start again. I know a lot of people with that mentality. I don't know if they had that mentality. It's kind of beyond that point right now, but I hate that because what I hated to see was, I get it, there's a huge amphetamine epidemic, opioid epidemic, benzo epidemic in this state. I just hate that there was, you know, like counterfeit products, like dangerous drugs brought in, like possibly fentanyl. And we've had several different occasions of people in the community, younger members of the community that have overdosed from possibly counterfeit prescription drugs, which is something you never want to see, especially with somebody so young who isn't trying to like hurt and kill themselves. They may just be in the weekend stage where they're like, I'll try this. And it turns out to be something that is lethal beyond return. So
that fentanyl, man, it's awful stuff too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the I'm glad that there's finally like documentaries and stuff to educate people about that stuff that's coming out, you know, because they're putting it in it's in everything.
I wish
coming
that
through right now.
I wish that we could get to the point of just like humanity where we could have a publicly funded office where you could take your drugs and have them tested without any fear of being arrested walking out, arrested walking in. Like, that is a safe spot for addicts or whoever to go and have your drugs tested for that kind of shit. Yeah. Because, like, and you know, it probably would take a while to develop trust in a clinic like that, you know, here in town or something. But man, like, we got to do something, because first of all, just because you make it illegal doesn't mean people are going to stop doing it. That's clear cut, plain as day.
Well, I'm somebody that believes in decriminalizing
I
drugs
hear you.
altogether. I am, and obviously, that's not from a point of. A lot of times you hear somebody with the argument of decriminalizing, and it's because they also are a user of some degree. You know what I'm saying?
I'm in the same boat as you.
That's not the case for me. I think that if you take the stigma, you know, you take that away from it, then
a lot of people want to do drugs because it makes them an adult.
Right.
Like, my sister is a prime example of not doing drugs, but when she turned 18, she bought a pack of cigarettes because she wanted to be an adult.
Right.
And like, it's the stigma of cigarettes, like, you know, and it's the same thing a lot of times with drugs. Like, oh, bro, I got some weed. You want to meet me behind the staircase?
Right.
We smoke this weed. We're not supposed to have this. Oh, we're so cool. We're adults, you know. Like, oh, we're doing something we're not supposed to. Yeah. Whereas if it was like, oh yeah, the dollar store has weed, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you know, I mean, there's liquor stores on every fucking corner.
Well, there's a reason too that most of the major most of the major drug dealers or drug heads in the world, they do not want drugs legal. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason for that. You know, I'll say this one thing that I learned from getting sober myself is how much of a mental health cap drinking was for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the case for a lot of people that use drugs. I think just to go along with what you said, I think if there were better resources for mental health in this country, that you wouldn't see as many drug addiction cases and drug users.
Yeah, there needs to be a stigma taken away from that as well too.
For sure.
That's one thing that we always hammer down on this podcast is mental health, and like, take care of yourself. You know, like if you need help, get it. We don't sit here and make fun of people who have like serious mental troubles, because like that could just as easily be me or the next guy or the next guy.
Yeah. And we've all been to a spot in our lives where we felt like we needed to
we are in a spot where we may feel like we may not be able to come out of. And the last thing that you want is to reach for something that takes the pain away, and then reaching for that causes you to end up in a prison cell for God knows how long. Right. You know, especially if you know, heaven forbid, you're reaching for some sort of methamphetamine or heroin or something like that. You know, the kind of sentencing that comes with those sorts of drugs is so intense that you're just so set up to fail once you've been caught.
Right.
That very few people make it back out. Now, I will say I have seen many people make it back out, because there are those resources to get back out of the holes that people find themselves in.
For sure.
Obviously, there's got to be more fine-tuning and more emphasis on mental health, and specifically mental health for men. Because I've noticed that there is a really big issue in this country between men and being able to express emotion. And I've noticed that it's something... it definitely starts at like the smallest level, where, you know, we being raised as guys, depending on if you had a father or not in your life, the way that you handle emotions is going to be completely different. Right. And if you're one of those staunch households where the father never cries, he may get upset, but that's about all the emotion you're going to get. He may be happy sometimes, but you know, I come from like a household where my dad, the only emotion he ever showed was disappointment when I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do. Right, and when I did the right thing, he would encourage me. Right. But I never saw him like cry or be down. Right. And me, I feel like, I'm like, man, well, now I got to be like my dad. I can't break down and cry. Like my dad was, you know, at my grandfather's funeral, just like happy as a bird, you know, like just being super up there and everything. And I'm like, I don't know how, you know, to like replicate that in my life. And I'll tell you, it's an inspiration in a way, but it can also be a curse, right? Where there are times when it's healthy to be like, all right, let's let this out. Let's get this out.
No, absolutely.
And I have noticed a big change in that since I've gotten older. A lot of my friends are, especially male friends, our friend group especially, is very, very open about like, you know, we all make fun of each other and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, yo, if you're struggling with something,
you okay?
Drop it off on me. Like we can all work together in this. And I feel like that kind of mentality is not nurtured enough at this point, and that's why you see so many people that struggle with depression and suicide being male. The percentages being so swayed, and I hate to see that, because, you know, with all of us being men in here, understanding that it's something that, you know, we've all been through at some point in our lives where we felt down, like in a way that we felt like maybe we couldn't get ourselves out of, or we felt like we needed help. And I'm sure both of you guys felt in that situation. I got to fix it myself. No one else can fix me. I got to fix me.
Oh, I lived half my life that way.
Yeah, and even having that mentality can be good, because sometimes there are times where it's like, look, I need to suck it up.
Right.
I need to stop, you know, caving into the pressure. I need to stop doing this. But at the same time, we all know that you can only be so strong by yourself.
Right.
You know, you're only as strong as the peers around you. You know, if you're, you know, around people that are constantly bringing you down, there's no way to get out of that cycle without cutting it off.
It's funny, like, so I took a page out of my good friend and passed away friend, Matt Sanders. Matt would never let you leave his house without telling you that he loved you, and he wouldn't let you out the door until you set it back. And as a, you know, hell, I met him when I was 10 or 11, up until he, you know, killed himself.
Yeah.
As an 11-year-old, when your buddy's like, hey, I love you, and I'm not letting you leave the house until you tell me it back, it's weird. You're like, bro, get the fuck out of my way, man. Like, you're a weirdo, you know. But that's something I took that page out of Matt's book, and you know, you didn't even ask Chase. We've got a boys chat of all our closest friends on
Yeah.
Facebook, and once or twice a week, I'll just post in there, "Hey, how y'all doing? Love y'all."
Yeah.
And everybody will post, "Love you too, man. Love y'all. How you doing?" You know, like, and like, I love that we've nurtured that kind of community amongst ourselves. And whenever somebody's going through something, they don't hesitate to put it in there, like, "Hey, man, I'm going," and it doesn't even have to be details. Just, "I'm going through something.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind just reaching out to me," and we're all fucking there for each other.
That's something that I'm big on is telling people that I love them. I try to tell people I love them as much as possible, especially my guy friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
man. We don't get it enough. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And,
Yeah.
you know, you said the same thing. Is like, I never seen my dad cry until my mom passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he cried for about 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that.
Cat back
And,
on.
and I remember when my grandfather died, I was crying at the funeral, and my dad leaned back to me and he said, "Hey, that's enough. You're crying enough for everybody here."
Damn.
And that's
tough,
not
man.
my dad
That's
today
tough.
by any means.
Right.
My dad, you know, when my dad was on, we talked about how he's just 180'd who he is
Right.
as a person, which is amazing. But
But
like,
imagine holding that. Imagine just like you said, putting the cap back on.
Yeah.
It. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. Imagine carrying, because I'm somebody that's very open, and like I said,
Yeah.
that's came mostly through the ladder of my life. You know what I mean? I've worked very hard to make myself as open as possible, but I can remember putting that cap on and carrying that
it's
around with
tough,
me, man.
You just
And
gotta swallow it and hope it gets better tomorrow.
it's why it's why you see these high speed chases down the road.
Yeah.
And these guys lose
Guys
it
just
one
snap.
day, man.
Yeah.
Like who wouldn't? You know?
I was watching this reality show with a girl, and this guy had his heart broken, right? And when these girls, it's like 10 dudes and 10 girls in a house,
Yeah.
and they have to figure out who they're a match with. It's an old MTV reality show.
Yeah.
They're all drama, right? Well, when these girls get their heart broken, all the girls are there for them, and they like cry in a big circle, and it's a big, you know, pity party, and they move on. Well, when a guy gets his heart broken, there's no one there for him. All the dudes are like laughing at him behind his back, and then what does it result in? A hole in the wall, a whiskey glass thrown through a window,
Right.
screaming, a fist fight. Like, it results in that shit because we don't have that support network.
Right.
And it was funny because this girl I was watching it with, she was like, "I love her. She's just so she's so emotional, and she's so in tune with herself." And when we watched this guy get his heart broken, he was in a corner by himself in his room crying. And she's like, "That is not attractive." And all the guys in the house were making fun of him. She's like, "He's kind of a bitch." I was like, "Yeah, see, that's," and I called it out when it happened. I was
That's
like,
exactly.
I was like, "That's literally the problem." I was like, "If I were to do that, you would say that's not attractive and I'm a bitch." Like, you
Right.
may not say that out loud, and you love me, so you'd coddle me, but
Right.
but in your head, be like, this is not strength. This is weakness. And
Yeah.
we're not, as men, we're not allowed to show that in any way, shape, or form, especially young men.
Right.
You know, and it was funny because along the lines of young men, I don't know if you guys had a gym class that was mandatory,
Oh boy.
but
Yeah.
my
Well, the public school,
girlfriend
yes.
had no idea what gym class for men is like.
Oh yeah.
For girls, they just kind of stand back against the wall and do what they have to get through the 30-minute period or whatever.
Right.
For men, it is balls on the line. You do your best in every sport. If you fuck up, you get beat up in the locker room.
Right.
It's a fight every day. There's testosterone raging, fist fights all the time.
Right.
Like, it is not a friendly atmosphere.
No, man.
And me and this kid named Austin, he's still in high school, we were talking in the car about this, and Brooklyn's like, "Are you guys being serious?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "I've gotten into like 6 fist fights this year in gym class." I was like, "Yeah, I remember those days."
Yeah, man.
Like, it's a different fucking thing.
Hormones, baby.
It's so weird, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's black and white between men and women, and we always
Yeah.
circle back to like how we don't understand each other, but we need each other.
Right.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And it's about finding that woman who understands you, doesn't try to change you, and can balance you.
It's man, and the thing is, man, and this is just my perspective of the world is, you know, especially over the last like 5 years or so, I feel like with and I'm a front of the line as far as for women's rights, and I think that everybody should be treated equal. But in the last 5 years, I feel like that everybody has worked so hard to make sure that everybody is not treated the same, but is the same.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that everybody should be treated the same. But the thing is, there is a difference between men and women. There is
100%,
there
yeah.
is a natural significance,
Of course.
for a man's role and a woman's role. Now I'm not talking about gender roles in the house
Yeah.
or anything like that. I'm
Or
talking
not
about
physiology.
I'm talking about in nature. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
there is a difference in a man and a woman. It's the reason why there's a WNBA and an NBA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's naturally a difference, and I just wish that everybody was treated the same on a playing field, so that those differences in life in general could be celebrated and not diversified.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about race. You know what I'm saying? My brother is mixed, and so I'm all on board with the Black Lives Movement. And he was the first one to point out and tell me, you hear so many people say, well, we're the same. There's no difference in us. And he was the first one to explain to me, like, no, we are different, and that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, like
That's the whole thing. Like you brought up the feminist movement.
We should celebrate
And
those differences, man.
That's what I've always thought was so fucking weird about that, was that like the whole point of it is where women hear us roar. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But then you say we can do everything you can do. Like no. Let's not blur that line.
Yeah.
Okay. There's things that you can do that we can't do, and
yeah.
that should be celebrated. And there's
Right.
things we can do that you can't do, and that should be celebrated.
Right.
Okay. We don't have to do the same things and be the same person
Right.
for us to be on the same playing field.
For sure.
We're on the same playing field because we're both humans.
Right.
And we can celebrate our differences.
Right.
And that's what, Dracine was in here.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it. He's like, because I was like, we got on the topic of, he hates being around a white group as the only black guy because it inevitably gets brought up that he's the black guy.
Right.
And I was like, well, I think that, I've done that before. I feel like everybody has, as far as you don't know how to bring it up in a joking manner and like, hey, we're on your side.
Right.
We're an ally. That we're joking around or him hauling around.
Right.
I'm fat, I'm ugly, you're black. And like,
Right.
And he was like, here's the thing. We should bring it up. We should acknowledge it, and we
Yeah.
should be celebrated for it.
Right.
And
I've lived on both sides of that too. Growing up with my brother's dad was my stepdad for the first part of my life, and so having a black stepdad and getting to learn that culture from an early age, and then having a mixed brother all growing up. I've been with Jacob when he got left out of things because he was black. When we were a story that he tells a lot too is I can remember. He's 2 years younger than me, so I was probably 7. He was probably 5 years old, and we grew up in Hallsville, which is a smaller town. Hancock County in general is probably predominantly white.
Yeah.
But I can remember we used to just run around town, as kids and just have fun or whatever, and you'd run into other kids or whatever. And I can remember very specifically one time we was out playing, and these kids came up and played with us or whatever, and it was kind of near their backyard. And the parents came on the back porch. They said, hey, get up here. And they came up, and they said something to the kids. And the kids came back, and they said, I'm sorry we can't play with you because you're black.
dude,
That's real life, man.
Yeah.
That's real life. That really happened. And I was there, and you know what I mean? I got to feel that. I would never say I got to feel how that made him feel. In that
no,
moment.
yeah,
But you know what I'm saying? I was on that side
that
of it.
gut wrenching, like,
Oh,
ew,
dude, yeah. And multiple times I've seen it. I've been in this, and I'm only bringing this up because I feel like somebody that's never experienced that side of it, you probably hear this stuff and you're like, oh my God, there's another, like,
Yeah.
you're over exaggerating this from somebody who's in that stance. But I've been in a store with Jacob before where, this has been years ago. We went to Burlington Coat Factory one time, randomly. I don't know. We was there. But we was in the store, and this guy was following us around. And it never occurred to me in my mind, why this guy was following us around. And I brought it up. I was like, what is this joker's deal, man? Is he, like, looking at my ass or something, And,
that was it.
and no, Jacob was like, he gave me this look.
Yeah.
And it hit me. I was like, no fucking way. And then about that time, the dude came up. He's like, can I help you guys with something? Do you need something?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm shopping.
Right.
What are you doing? Like,
Dude, me and Brooke were in Walmart on Frederica. I'll fucking call you out.
yeah.
And we were over in the sporting goods, And we come around the end of the aisle, and there's an employee laying down on the floor with his head around the edge of the end cap. And I almost kicked the dude in the face. I was like, what the fuck? Like, scared the shit out of me. He went, shh. I was like, what is going on? Like, I got behind him. I took a step back, and there was like a mid-30s black dude with a cart full of stuff. And he was just watching him. And I was like, what are you doing?
What a
And he was like,
freak,
he was like, I'm just watching this guy. He's acting real suspicious. I was like, okay. And I let it go on for probably 5 minutes. And this guy was literally just shopping, minding his own business, looking at kids' toys and blah, blah, blah. And I went up to him. I said, hey, man, this dude back here laying on the fucking floor, he's watching you. And he turned around. He was like, what? And he seen him and went. And he literally just stopped what he was doing, pushed his cart to the self-checkout, bought all his shit, and left.
Man, it's guys like that I wish would trip over something on their way to their car or something.
And
Dude, I've worked at a convenience store before. I've been in the employee meeting where they're like, "We need to keep an eye out for shoplifters," and I've been the guy that thought, "You don't pay me a fucking enough to get this shit."
Fuck you.
Who cares?
Fire a security guard.
Why does that guy even give a fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
First of all, shrink
First
this up
of
your
all,
ass,
yeah,
bro. I don't
exactly,
care.
man. Like, no, it's because he's a racist fuck. He doesn't give a fuck if what got stolen from Walmart. He's, anyway, that shit fires me up, man.
And here's something that fired me up, and I wanted to bring it up on this podcast. I'm probably gonna make a video about it. So I didn't know this was there. I seen it on Facebook and didn't equate where it actually was. Okay, but I don't know if you guys have seen it. But at the intersection of Industrial Road and Highway 60, right where like Subway, Westside Liquors, the old Spectrum store, right there at the end of the bypass, that area. At that intersection, someone has put a Confederate flag on about a 10-foot pole in the middle, not on the middle, but on the edge of private property in a cornfield right in that intersection. Yep. And I pulled up to the stoplight there, and I wasn't paying no mind, and I just looked up and was looking around, and I seen it. I was like, what the fuck? And I grew up in Sargo, in Stanley, in Reed, Newman, like if I wanted to keep narrowing it down to the little province I grew up in. The Confederate flag is no new thing to me. Right. And it's never struck me as a negative. It's never struck me as like racist even. Yeah. It was just kind of there. And of course, having grown up around there, having friends around there, there's dudes with stickers on the back of their truck, and I've never paid any mind. And for some reason, when I seen that flag at that intersection, it made me not mad, it made me disgusted. It gave me like a gut-wrenching feeling. Like it made me white knuckle the steering wheel. Yeah. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And this happened at like 11:30 in the morning. And all throughout my day, I was listening to podcasts, I was listening to radio, I was trying to figure out, I was like, I've seen this my whole life. Like, why is this getting to you? And I finally figured, I called Dracine because, Dracine's real big into the Black Lives movement, and he's constantly posting, black figures around the community and things like that. And I wanted to have this conversation with him, and I'm happy I got to. We talked on the phone for probably 30 minutes. I talked his ear off. Yeah. But the reason this got to me is because it hurt my feelings. Yeah. And it's weird for me to say because it has no reason to hurt my feelings. Right. Other than, for me, if you were to fly the Confederate flag off your front porch in the middle of the county, I wouldn't give it a second thought. Right. I'd be like, to me, that is your opinion, ignorant as it may be, as whatever you want to reason it as. I know the whole heritage, not hate thing. Fuck off. It's a 200-year-old flag. We're the United States. We are the United States of America. We have a flag, not two flags, not the South will rise again, not fuck off, dude. Just we're Americans. We're the United States. Anyway, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's your freedom of speech. I have no problem with that. But this flag, this was not on someone's front porch. This was not on someone's pickup truck. This was not a staple of themselves. This was not a characteristic. This was not a self-held opinion. This was a symbol put at a public intersection that gets a lot of traffic. And to me, the only context that could have is exclusion,
Right.
is diversity,
Yeah.
and not in a good way.
Right.
Yeah.
It is this means to me, I want to divide our community based on who agrees with this flag and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And who agrees with that flag?
We know the type.
White men.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
So if you're not a white man who agrees with this flag, fuck you.
Right.
Is what that flag
Yeah.
standing in that intersection stood for.
Yeah.
And that's what hurt it took me a while to drill down on it, because the Confederate flag to me means nothing.
Right.
It doesn't mean Southern pride. It
Right.
doesn't mean my ancestors. I could have had ancestors fight in the fucking Civil War on behalf of the South. I
Right.
don't know. I don't give a shit. I'm a fucking American.
Right.
I'm not a Confederate. Okay?
Right.
So the only flag I'll be flying is the United States flag.
For sure.
So that's fine. And like I said, you can fight for everybody in here fucking getting your panties in a bunch, because I'm sure there's going to be some who watch this. They're like, oh, I like the Southern flag. Fucking
Right.
heritage, not hate. I love black people. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's fine.
For sure.
But when you put it up as a public statement in an intersection, flying 10 feet high, that stands for something completely different.
Yeah, man.
And that hurt my feelings, like, to a deep level. And I've contemplated a lot of different things of how I want to handle this situation. And one of them, obviously, is talking about it on here. This is easily my most public platform.
Right.
And where I can get my voice heard the most. And obviously, it's on public property. And as an American, I'm not going to violate someone else's property or rights by taking the flag down, destroying it, cutting it, etc. I think the best way I can handle it is to go to every single store I can find and buy out every single American flag I can find. And on the other side of that fence, because it's along a highway, they got that square fencing through there. I think I'm just going to fill the entire public easement with United States flags.
There you go.
With the American
that's the way
flag.
to do it. That's a way more creative way to make a statement about a problem than violating someone else's.
I think
personal
I will
rights,
take my next paycheck and I will spend every fucking penny on whether it's the little seasonal, $1 little handheld flags, or whether I got to go buy fucking poles and 5x3 flags.
Right.
Whatever it's going to be, that's what I'm going to do. And I think I'm going to put as much square footage of who we are as a community up on the public easement as I possibly can.
That's how that's how love wins, in my opinion, man. And I've said from the beginning, especially the COVID took a big part of last year, but there was you think of the riots and everything that happened last year, and the protests and a lot of that stuff. It was a big year for for civil rights and to put a spotlight on that, and especially in a time of social media, you got to see both people from both sides of the fence just flaming on social media and fighting each other, and that's one of my biggest stances as far as that goes is you're never going to win fighting with somebody, whether it be in person or on social media. You're never going to get on there and see something ugly that somebody posted and get in the comment section and as mad as it makes you, write something, to tell that guy how he's wrong. He's never going to change his mind. The only way that we're going to change the world is by leading by example. And that's the truth. You're never going to convince somebody that's racist that they're wrong.
Right.
Because we're all designed, I think, we're all programmed from birth. And I think we all have the ability to change and grow as we do.
Absolutely.
But we're also designed to be very defensive in our beliefs.
100%.
So the thing is whether it be male or female, as soon as you oppose somebody, put your feet in the
dig
mud
in.
to them, they're going to defend themselves.
Absolutely.
It's the way we're programmed to do. So how do you win? How do you show the world a better way to be? How do you make the world a better place? You lead by example. You make sure that the things that you say are not racist. You make sure that the things that you say are, as neutral as possible. You make sure that people see you being a good person in public. You know what I'm saying? And sooner or later, and it definitely it's the long road process, but sooner or later, somebody on the other side of the line is going to say, "Man, you know what? He seems like he's not near as mad as I am all the time."
Yeah.
Oh man, oh wow, somebody that's racist per se. Man, Josh, he goes into a room, man, and he's not worried about what color somebody is, and look at him being friends with everybody in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's having a much better time than I am over here getting riled up every time I walk in a room. You know what I'm saying? And those are the examples that I think change the world.
Absolutely, man.
That's my opinion.
I mean, I've said it. I've heard it said time and time again. The only way to drown out bad ideas is with better ideas.
Yeah, man.
And that's like, I think I'm going to make a real simple video. It's going to be like just a selfie video, and it's going to be on the Confederate flag, and I'm going to say, Owensboro, this is not who we are as a community.
Yeah.
This is. And I'm just going to pan to an American flag.
Yeah.
And that's it. That'll be it.
We're
just
seeing it a lot. Did you guys see the mural that my man Aaron Kaiser did, man? And it got
destroyed basically.
Man.
Yeah, man. It's awful. And coming from this community, I hate to see that, man. But we're getting to see a representation that it's not just it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere that these problems still exist. Racism still exists. Sexism still exists. You know what I'm saying?
And like, and to not to be so fucking negative on this point, because we didn't start seeing change in these departments until what, the fucking 50s? Into the 60s, fighting it hard in the 70s.
Right.
And here we are in 2020, for 50 years, that's a lot of mind changing. That's a lot of heart switching. That is a lot of progress. I'm not by any means excusing behavior. But what I am saying is that on this track, we are one generation away from having far less of these issues.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're on track. Average lifespan 70 years old.
Right.
We haven't even made it to one person average lifespan since women could stop being raped from their husbands.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is by far the best time for any person, creed, race, religion, gender to be alive. And for that to continue, we have to constantly meet in the middle instead of digging our heels in the ground, flying a flag from 200 years ago that means jack shit to fucking anybody.
Right. Yeah. And that's such a great point, I believe, and there's something I don't think that people think about enough, and it goes right along with what you said. There's people there's people alive that are our age whose grandfather probably represented one side or the other in this. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's people. So there's somebody whose grandfather believed in, lived during segregation, believed in it, was raised in it, was raised with that state of mind. Think of this too. There's African American men and women our age whose grandfather probably went through the hardest parts of segregation, and who probably still have a strong storyline in their family of slavery. It wasn't that long ago, you know what I'm saying? At all. So generationally speaking, you're exactly right. I think we're about one generation away to where both sides can heal a little bit from that. Right. You know what I'm saying? To where and until you get to that point, I feel like it's going to be hard to neutralize on either side. Yeah. And come together.
The thing that
I think we're working on it. I want to make that point, but I think we're working toward it.
And through these conversations we're working on it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
the thing that drives home to me is that these people are my people. Like, they're the fucking F-150 blue collar fucking cowboy boots, dirt on their hands guys that run around in these crowds in a very tight-knit group saying the N-word behind everybody's backs and
Right.
thinking it's funny.
Right.
And I'm telling you now, it takes one guy in that group to say, "Hey, man, chill.
That's
That's
not
not
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
You're
not cool."
exactly
You don't have
right,
to. You
man.
don't have to punch him in the mouth. You don't have to call him out in front of everybody.
Right.
You could literally say one sentence to that person, and I bet he won't say it again.
Right.
It takes one person to stand up and just be like, "Hey, man, chill."
And back to example, I bet 9 times out of 10, the person, because I've been that guy before.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, what you're going to find is there's going to be 3 or 4 more people in that group that are like, "Man, I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah,
That
man,
was-
that made me uncomfortable.
There's so
that was
many
bothering
people.
me,
Yeah.
man. Like, because I believe there's more good people than there are bad people in
Absolutely.
the world. I believe that people want to be friends before they want to be enemies. I believe people
Yeah.
want to be what I call neutral. They want no hostility energy in the room
Right.
before they do. But people also want to fit in. So I feel like if there's a trend in a group or in
And
a
it's
friendship,
easy.
it's easy to
Take the
slide
easy
into it and
route.
just not say anything.
Path
you
of
know what I
least
mean?
resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're exactly right. I feel like it takes one person to break that egg, you know
Definitely.
what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, man, he's right. What the hell, you know? So,
Well, guys,
That's awesome.
we just passed an hour. Chase, if there's somebody watching in here, give me a name, a random name. Don't care what name it is, any name at all.
Let's see, now I feel biased because Blake Hardison's in here. And people that have been on the podcast before, and then Stacey Foster, Wilma Harris, and Stacey, of course. I'm sure she has at least one copy of the album.
oh, she's got 20.
She's got 20.
She really does.
Well, for anybody that's in the chat right now, we can do how we do the other.
Yeah, we'll
giveaways.
do a random. Okay, so first person to comment. Let's see. First person to comment. What's a word on here I can just pick out real quick? First person to comment run in the chat. RUN. First person to comment run gets a signed copy that Josh signed today of his brand new album. And we'll do another giveaway probably here towards the end of the show. So, Chase, let me know who comments that, and then we'll say your name live, and you'll need to reach out to us.
Say run.
Say
I'll
run.
let you know when.
Are
Do
you
it.
in? I'm about to comment. Shit.
Uh-oh, we got one.
Oh shit.
Linda Payne McGrew, you just won.
Hey, that's my grandmother.
There you
You get
go.
him all?
There you go.
Okay. Well, you don't need to message me. I know where you live. I can get this hand delivered. This is a fantastic album. You and Jim will definitely like it.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. So, getting off the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
I want to talk about Red Barn Radio, man. You were
Yes,
just
that's
on
what
the
I
last
wanted to
one.
talk about too.
On a
I'd
lighter
love
note,
to.
man, how was that experience? I've heard a lot of guys come and go through there, and they just loved it. you know?
They were great, man. Their production team is amazing, and it's so great to work with. When they reached out to me to do that show, I was beside myself.
Man,
to say
that's
the least,
crazy.
man.
And what was striking to me is, I'm not a big time like music industry guy.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that the last time I heard the name Red Barn Radio, it was for Tyler Childers.
Yeah, man. He's
And so-
definitely the juggernaut that's came through there.
Yeah,
you know,
so to
like-
go from Red Barn Radio Tyler Childers to Red Barn Radio Josh Merritt,
Yeah.
the guy that I know, the guy who's been on our podcast and keeps coming back on our podcast somehow, that was amazing to me.
Yeah, it meant a lot to me too, man. And I'm a huge Tyler Childers fan, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's got an album. His album, I think his first album was live at Red Barn,
Yep.
and then he re-released it not too long ago. So yeah, that was huge to me, man. That's definitely something I thought about going into it.
It's a hell of a set too. I mean, I've watched most of it. I couldn't watch all of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, absolutely kicked ass. It probably was a little weird. I know some of their shows will have more people there. Obviously, they've got different things to go through. Was it kind of weird being up there? I know you've
No,
done a few
because-
shows by yourself.
Yeah,
lately,
because I
but-
didn't know
Yeah.
any difference for one, and for two, like over the course of the last year, like
Yeah.
the live stream thing, like I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Right.
from home by myself type
Yeah.
stuff, but that's practice for that a little bit, man. I got used to just playing for a camera, and the staff there, they really clap between songs, try
Yeah,
to keep
yeah.
the energy up in the
Good.
room. So
Yeah. Keep
it was
the
cool,
momentum
man.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, but I loved it. I had Chris Lee was drumming for me for that. I've known Chris we've played music together for over 10 years now, and
Wow.
Jared Green the same way,
Oh, yeah,
and Cynthia Murray, she's a powerhouse. She's been a good friend. Actually, the first time I ever got to tour was with her band Osceola. That's from out of Evansville.
Okay.
They're not together anymore. But yeah, my first experience out on the road was with her band, and like I said, we've known each other for years now. It was really cool
That's
to have
awesome,
her
man.
on there, man. Yeah.
Where's Red Barn
She's
located?
Thanks, Lexington.
Lexington?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in Lexington, so it
Very
was cool, man. We went up and pretty much made a day of it, you know. Yeah, we got up there about 3:00 and loaded in, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you know what I mean. They load you in, you sound check like you would at any show, and take off. But it was cool, man. It was definitely
That's awesome.
something I've wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Is that something that is like invite only? Like, did you get an email from them or
yeah,
is that
yeah.
something you
They just
apply
I don't
for?
know. They just checked the album out, I guess, and
That's awesome.
and there was enough. There was enough going around that they.
Well, shit, you've had
They
what
sent
3
us-
or 4 write-ups lately
Yeah,
on
it's been
different
quite a few,
articles,
man.
and yeah.
What's weird? I did an interview for News for You. It's like a tri-state magazine, which we've had all kinds of good press coming in, and I did an interview for that. My buddy Tommy from there hit me up and wanted. I did a call interview with him and stuff, and kind of forgot about doing it. And it's like a monthly thing. And my buddy Jeff posted on Facebook yesterday, was like, this article's amazing, and you know, I like to read that stuff,
Yeah.
just to, you know what I mean, so I can keep copies of it and stuff like that to have. And I totally didn't know what the hell he posted it, and I was like, what? I don't even remember doing that, you know. So that's pretty neat.
That's awesome, man.
But I haven't got to read that yet, so if you guys get it, maybe save me
Yeah.
a copy. I can't
Yeah.
find it anywhere.
That's terrific, man.
But-
I want to know. So obviously, like we discussed earlier, you're coming up on. Oh, you just passed 2 years sober, actually.
Yeah.
So
15th.
do you feel like the sobriety's kind of propelled you to this next level, or do you feel like it was the release of the album and you could have got here anyway?
No, it's definitely helped. I mean, I feel like when you're sober, yeah, you have more time to concentrate on other things.
Definitely
you know
have
what
more
I'm saying?
ambition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, man. Especially if you're drinking like I was, which the crazy thing about my job is for 6 years now, I've played music for a living, you know.
Yeah.
But what comes with that is, and at my level of
Free drinks.
yeah, I play in bars. I
Yeah.
play in, you know, I play for happy hours and things like that. And yeah, a lot of times, you know, it's a free tab, it's whatever. So especially for somebody that drink anyway, like
Right.
that's just it's an easy road to
Go down.
and to increase in. So just like anything, one drink doesn't hit like it did before. You know what I'm saying? And before you know it,
Yeah.
like
Whole
Feel the
fifth.
tolerance.
Yeah.
yeah. So, and what comes with that too is I got to a point where I was playing more shows in a week. I was just playing on maybe a Saturday night. That was my week. You know what I'm saying? But then all of a sudden I had we've got a weekday show, and then we're doing Thursdays now. And then, you know, and then when we got real busy, we were doing every Friday and Saturday night at one point. So, you know, at one time I looked up and I was doing 4 to 6 shows a week in a bar, and I wasn't gonna go to a bar and not drink. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So it got to where like on a Wednesday, on a Wednesday night, I was feeling pretty nice, which leads to Thursday morning feeling pretty rotten.
bad.
Yeah. So
I know about that here too.
So
on the
I got to
podcast.
know, like, so when you're on stage, obviously the drinks still come.
Yeah.
So do you do the old Timers move and just whoop? Nobody's like to toss it.
I did it. I did it first. That was
Yeah.
my go-to.
Had a
because
potted
at
plant
first
behind
it was hard. It was hard to get out to. But then I reached a place where I wanted to be very open about my sobriety, and I
Yeah,
didn't
I think
want
that's
to
the way
be,
to go.
and I didn't want to be. Because that same guy, he's going to keep bringing them. You know what I'm saying? And at some point,
Once you take the first one, it's like, hey, you took it, my man. Here's another one.
No, exactly, man. But I reached this point too where it was like, especially on a local level, where you know that guy might go to work. That man, I was having drinks with Josh Merritt last night.
Right.
I was throwing them back, and like, wait a minute, I thought he was sober. I heard from my friend he was sober, so that became an issue.
Didn't
You
want
couldn't
to feel
just
like you're
fake
getting
it to make.
played.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that didn't last very long. I've been pretty open about it
Yeah.
the whole time. And at first, it was really hard. I think it was more in my head than anything. It was very
Probably.
hard for me to say no to somebody that
feel like you're
Especially if they'd
disappointed.
already bought the drink.
Yeah.
Especially if they'd already bought the
Yeah.
shot and brought it to you and was like, hey, man, I bought you something. And be
Yeah.
like, sorry, man, I don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, if you're an addict like I am, that's an easy road back into it too. That's
Yeah.
an easy
Yeah.
place. Because one of the things I learned in AA is there's always a path to go back. So
Yeah.
it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to not take this. You know, I'm not going to not take this. He's
Yeah.
already bought it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's such a powerful statement what you just said. It rolled off the tongue easy for you, but like when you said that, it kind of like, I don't know, it felt weird for me. When you
Yeah.
said, as an addict, I'm like, ooh. Like, I mean, it's great that you have self-recognition. Obviously,
Yeah, man.
you're sober for 2 years, so that's comes with it.
Yeah.
But like, at what point? I know. I mean, you drank a lot. You kind of had that self-recognition of I drink a lot. But at what point were you like, I might be an addict? And was that a hard pill to swallow to say I'm an addict for the first time?
Well, I've got a lot of friends that after I got sober was like, man, I didn't feel like you drank that much, you know?
Yeah.
And
Because they drank more.
yeah, exactly.
Man, I was 3-timing you.
Yeah, but and still yet. My stepdad the other day, he was like, "Well, I don't think you can call yourself an alcoholic. You weren't having
Well,
a 6
it's-
pack." Well, here's how I know.
Perception is reality.
Exactly, and here's how I know I'm an addict is that for 2 years now I've wanted to drink.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
that,
you know,
yeah.
and it at some point there's this threshold that you meet because the first year it's hard, you know what I'm saying, and it never. There's a Jason Isbell song that says it gets easier, but it never gets easy.
Right.
And it's a great song, but I love that statement so much because the first year it's like a constant. For me, it was a constant fight not to drink, and then I think after that point, it got a lot easier to not. I didn't have to work as hard not to drink. You know what I'm saying? Because you get in a routine and you get comfortable going to the shows now. People don't offer me drinks the way they are. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And even if they do, I'm in a routine myself of how to
Yeah.
approach that and how to
Yeah.
talk to them about it and stuff like that. But the craving's still there. If I have a really bad day, a shitty day, like I still think, like, man, I'd love
Yeah.
a good shot of whiskey, man, or you know, and I think about it all the time. When I go to a bar, like I'm not in the same routine of going and getting it. But if I sit and think long enough, I've caught myself before.
Might convince yourself.
I've
into
caught
it.
myself before sitting at a bar, like waiting to get paid out or something, and just like checking out the whiskeys. And then I'll snap. I'll be, you know, and it's not like
Yeah.
I'm sitting there drooling over it
Right.
or anything.
But it's
I'm
just a thought.
But it's
Yeah.
like what, you know,
It's the seed.
somebody
It's-
that's
yeah.
not somebody that doesn't that isn't that and that doesn't have that valley in their brain. They're not over here checking out the whiskeys. I'm sitting here
Yeah.
checking out the whiskeys. I love whiskey, baby. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you know, like you said, perception is reality. So
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
And like and I don't mean to compare these in the least, so please don't take this offense. To a fraction of the issue that alcohol brings. I've talked about this when Casey Kelly came on. He called me out for having a Bang energy drink. And I got genuinely upset about that. I didn't get upset to his face, but after the show was over, I was talking to Chase, and I was like, man, fuck. He like, Brooklyn doesn't want me drinking these, but like, they pick me up. You know, I'm doing a podcast. I feel like I need one. And it became a routine of in the morning, I would stop and get a Bang energy drink. The problem is that they taste good and they fucking work.
Yeah.
So
They get you going.
in the morning I would stop and grab one at the gas station, drink it on the way to work, be good to go. And then for the podcast, I couldn't do a podcast without one. Like I just felt like, you know, I've got so much more to say. I'm up, you know, like I'm ready to go. And so she was like, hey, you should stop drinking. I don't like when you drink those. Like you should chill out on those. And, you know, of course I'm like, it's fine. It's a fucking energy drink. It's zero everything. It's 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs. You know, it can't be that bad.
Right.
Whatever. And so I had one, and I had it down here, you know, where the camera can't see.
Right.
And he seen me drinking it before the show, and so he was making a metaphor, and he was like, whether it's, you know, alcohol or energy drinks or whatever it is, like, fuck. Like I got genuinely pissed. And I was like, whoa. And after I had like this moment of self-recognition, I was like, dude, did I just get mad that someone called me out that I was hiding what my girlfriend didn't want me to do?
Right.
Like, that doesn't sound like a them problem. That sounds like I should be mad at this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I never had another bang, but to the degree of you saying you're sitting at the bar and eyeballing the whiskey, every time I go into the gas station to get a water now, usually, I always do like a double take at like, what flavors they got over there? Like, do they got the flavor I like, you know? And I like, there's almost times where I like go to open the door, I'm like, I can't have that shit.
You want to hear a face melter?
Yeah.
This is my buddy Jamie Combs. I love him so much. He's full of these, but we was talking about something the other day, and he said, addiction's like a hole in the back of your head. Everybody can see it, but you.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
a good saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Addiction's like a hole in the back of your head. Everybody can see it, but you can't
Up
see
until
it.
like it seems like you're the last one to know.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody else knows. Everybody will see it. They're like, yeah, he's on that shit again.
Yeah.
And everybody can tell because, like, no matter how hard you try to cover things up, the people that know you best are gonna see it. They know who you are. The people that actually know you, not fake friends or whatever it may be, but the people that actually know you will see, your behavior change. They'll see you curve yourself to something else. Like I'm sure, like some of your friends might have seen you, like, spend more time drinking than you were playing music, and maybe they brought it to you, maybe they didn't.
No, for sure.
and you can't expect like your friends to bring something to you, and then if it hurts your feelings, like you said, like we were in the podcast, it was in the middle of the podcast too, and like I felt it, like we sat at this table for so long talking that like I can feel Jacob whenever he's like got something to say or something's in his head, and when he hit him with that, I was like, damn, that's a really good analogy. And the past few guests we've had in here have hit us with some really good analogies, and you've just hit us with a couple.
Yeah,
more
we're
good
on a roll
ones.
now. Yeah.
And that really, Dracine said something to me about race that I just like. It clicked with me. I was like, damn, no one has ever said it to me like that, and now I finally get it. And that kind of spoke to me too. You don't see it at all. It's in the back of your head, and it feels like it's in the back of your head when you're seeing, oh, that bottle's looking nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to drink. It's just one drink,
Right.
or whatever it may be. Just one more this, one more that, and your mind is so good at convincing you that thing that makes you feel good is okay.
Right.
And it'll always be okay because it makes you feel good. If it was bad, it'd make me feel bad because bad things make you feel bad, right?
Right.
You hurt your leg, my leg's hurt. I don't want to do the thing that hurt my leg again. But when you get those things that hijack you and make you feel good, you get in this nice little roll. You get in this nice little roll, and you don't see the change because the only thing that's changed for you is you like something a little bit different.
Right.
But for everybody else, they see that you like something different.
Right.
They see that twinkle in your eyes towards something else that's not like your goals. Like we get people that come and sit in here with us that are super goal orientated,
Right.
and you can see that right away. It's in their head and it's
They're
coming
driven.
out. Yeah, it's coming out at them at the seams. And the people that are full of excuses, the negative folks that we kind of talked about earlier,
Right.
where there's people that are in rooms that are just mad all the time. I hate this. I hate that. I hate these people. I hate those people. I hate this. I hate that. They bleed that energy like crazy.
Right.
And like the more you're sucked into that hole, that's the only thing you can see. You're down in that hole. You're looking up at everybody else. You're like, they're happy and they're not alcoholics, and that pisses me off because
Right.
I got to use the drug to be happy.
Right.
And so many people, like I said, we were talking about this earlier with the being able to like relate to human beings on a personal level. Like we all can feel that way about something, whether it be energy drinks, alcohol. I've had my own battles with alcohol. My mother was an alcoholic, and so growing up, I'm always like, I'm never gonna drink. I'm never gonna drink. When I got a little older, I was like, well, I can drink. I just don't need to drink that much. And I saw exactly how much you have to drink in order.
And it's hard to be that that self-observant, to check yourself like that. That's back to that analogy, what I mean? I think that has a lot to do with it. To circle back too on the whole mental health thing. Like I said, I feel like, especially with alcohol, so many of my friends I know use alcohol to self-medicate, and they don't know it. And it's so crazy. But if we could be more, and we can't be, we're not designed to be. But if people could be more self-observant, then they could. It'd be neat to see people that could check themselves, and instead of like I'm big on energy drinks too, man. I drink the shit out of them, but wouldn't it be cool to be self-observant enough to say why do I need these things? What's going on with me that I need these things? And just for an example, one of the things I learned about myself when I got sober was how bad my social anxiety was, which is always weird for anybody to hear me say because I'm a very social person. My job
very
is
outgoing.
social.
Performer.
Yeah,
So.
and like it's literally I've built myself off the fact that I'm good at talking to
You
people.
fill a room.
And exactly. But I have debilitating social anxiety. I really do.
Yeah.
Like to the point where after when I first stopped drinking, like it was hard. I would get so anxious before I would go to shows that I thought I would have to cancel.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was that bad at it. And but that's one of those things that I'm talking about. Like I drank from the time my dad drank, and looking back, talking about that, my dad was always a pretty heavy drinker. And the same thing though, my dad was, I get it exactly from my dad. My dad was the kind of person that if you was at a barbecue or something with him, he was the life of the party. He was the guy that like was making everybody laugh and that kind of made the party go or whatever. But I can remember being a kid and being at those parties with him, and he was always drinking heavy and acting really crazy at those things. But I can remember being a kid and being on the way home with him and how much he was like, God, that was exhausting, or God, that was, how negative it was on him. And as an adult, I feel that too, you know what I mean? Especially since I don't drink, I feel that burden, and I realize how much I was using alcohol to
Mask it.
Yeah, and successfully mask it. So
Yeah.
much to the point that I drank in so much of a rotation and in such a pattern that if I was out, I'd drink. I can remember when I was drinking, like when I got to a show, I had a routine. I would go in, I'd make sure I got the work done first. So I'd always go in and set up my equipment. I'd always sound check, make sure that was done before I would have a drink. But as soon as I got that done, I'd go to the bar and I'd get a turkey and Coke.
It's me from here to there before every show.
Yeah.
A turkey and a Coke with a back whiskey, a shot of whiskey. So I that way that was my reward for getting the work done. You know what I'm saying? I'd have that shot of whiskey and then my whiskey and Coke. And then before I went on stage, I got a whiskey and Coke for the stage, and I got another shot of whiskey before I went on.
Yeah.
And at break time,
Keep it going.
And then whatever shots I was taking while I was on stage that people were handing me or whatever, But it was such a routine that I never got to see that side of it. Even going to the show before I would start drinking, I knew the drink was coming, so I didn't have to think about the social anxiety part of it, if that makes any sense.
You're just focusing on the reward.
Yeah. But to circle back too, it's interesting being sober and getting to watch people, especially I play in bars. I get to see people drink at all levels. I get to see the people, and it's weird. And I never judge. And I tell people all the time, I got sober because I needed to get sober. I don't judge people that drink in any fashion whatsoever, even if they have a horrible problem. To the people that don't, that's none of my business. It's your business unless it's affecting
Prime
me.
example.
Yeah, no,
My man.
no, exactly, man. I don't judge. My sobriety was a personal choice, and it was a personal venture for myself. And I never sit back and judge, but you obviously observe, everybody. You're going to observe everywhere that you are. So it's very interesting now that I am sober that you can pick out the people that are drinking casually. You can pick out the people that are drinking to cover something up, and it's so interesting to me how many people drink to be social. You know what I mean?
Man, it's. I've talked to Chase many times about this, and it's always weird for me to hear someone say, like, they leave a social situation and go, God, that was exhausting. Like, I leave a social situation, and I'm sad because it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I remember all the way back to when my mom used to babysit kids, and the parents would come to pick up their kids, and I would throw a fit. Like, I would sit in my room and I'd break toys, and I would, I would be so mad. Like, I remember that I have a shit fucking memory, by the way. Like, a terrible memory. And I still have this memory of when I was like, it had to have been younger than 6 years old because we moved out of the house when I was 6. We used to live on Hall Street in this little trailer where my mom babysit kids. And I had this little die-cast NASCAR. And just between the little plastic window net and the metal frame of the body was big enough for coins to go in, like little, pennies. And shit.
Yeah.
And I have this memory of there was this kid I really liked, and we stayed friends for probably 10 years, named Garrett. And Garrett's parents came to pick him up, and I was so devastated that I had no one to play with, I had no one to talk to, I had no attention coming in.
Yeah.
That I just sat in my room out with my piggy bank open, and I was just putting pennies in his car. And there's no way to get the pennies out. It was just literally like self-destructive behavior of throwing away the only money a 6-year-old has, which is everything. A quarter, you're rich. And so it's just so weird, like, to see the flip side. I mean, it seems like more and more people have the flip side. It feels like I'm the outcast anymore. Like, Chase is very introverted. You're very introverted. My girlfriend's very introverted.
Yeah.
My dad is very extroverted. I feel like that's where I get it from.
Yeah.
Dad's always been the life of the party. But I don't know. It's just like, obviously we have very different wiring. But whenever I hear somebody talk about them, like, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, I get sad when I stop getting attention.
Yeah.
I've learned that, and I've kind of like acknowledged that about myself here in the past year or so, is that like I have an incessant need for attention.
Yeah.
Like when I'm not getting attention, as Brooklyn, when I'm not getting attention at home, even like we're just laying on the couch and she's like playing on her phone, I'll just start annoying the piss out of her.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah,
because
I get
I'm a
that.
child and I have to have attention. So like if we're not cuddling or something,
Yeah.
oh, it's game on. Like
Yeah.
you're getting poked, you're getting pinched, the lights are flickering. Like something's gonna happen.
If my girlfriend's watching, she's probably saying, "Oh yeah."
It's just what it is, man. And I wouldn't consider I have any addiction running my family. I know you kind of hinted at that with your dad, and you said your mom was along those lines. My dad, he would drink Bud Light every night, but he always made it a point. So if anyone ever brought up like, you drink a lot, Chris, or oh, you're becoming an alcoholic, like even just joking, or even if him and my mom had a fight and it got brought up, anything at all, he would immediately throw away whatever beer was in the fridge and he wouldn't touch it again for 6 months at the least.
Yeah.
To prove to whoever brought it up
I'm in control.
that I'm in control. Yeah. And for Dad, Dad had a ton of stress. Mom couldn't work, ton of medical bills all the time, on top of 2 kids who are already on the free lunch program and getting their school supplies from, daycares and churches and shit like that. Dad's the only one working. When he comes home, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I want to pop a top on a Bud Light, kick my feet up in the fucking recliner, and
for
chill for a little while.
Absolutely,
so,
man.
And looking back, I understand. So I wouldn't consider that I wouldn't think I have addiction running in my family. But when I've obviously drank, smoked weed, taken shrooms, cigarettes, cigars. I mean, I've done quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've never had the feeling of I need that again.
Yeah.
Except when it came to Bang energy drinks, man. I've had Red Bulls, I've had Monsters, I've had coffee, Starbucks double shot energy drinks. I've had a lot of shit. I've never had that feeling before.
Caffeine's addictive, man.
It was weird.
It's very addictive.
I'm fighting with that right now.
It's so addictive that you have anything that if you don't have it will
cause
physically
physical
affect, you get headaches,
ramifications.
You get headaches and irritable, and you know what I mean, things like that. I mean, that's something to take a look at, man. If it's, I mean, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying in general.
Well, I did get headaches, and that was like that's another reason you're like, shit, I'm getting a headache, better stop and grab one real quick. Like, and it just rolls off the brain so easy. You know what I mean? Like you don't even think like, well, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just ride
those
this
hyper quick decisions that your brain makes without you getting a chance to double think it.
Right.
Those are generally the decisions that you end up regretting. Right. Where it generally happens with food. I'm bad about it with food
very
these
bad
days.
about
I used to be so good about my food. This past year I've just been like I've been dieting my whole life.
Bro,
So
I looked back on a video when me and you were boxing in your garage and you were jacked.
yeah, I just like this year
And you're not fat by any means.
I've gotten thicker,
but you were jacked back then.
Yeah,
I
well-
didn't even realize it.
Well,
You're a little bantamweight.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed was up until this year, I've always really, really tortured myself about my diet since I wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
Tortured myself about
Yeah.
my diet to the point that I had significant others that are like, you're like a woman with your weight. You're always constantly like, I can't eat this, I can't eat that,
Yeah.
this, and that. And this year, I kind of made it a point to myself. I was like, look, I can eat food and everything and gain weight and not think so negatively and not be so negative about it,
Right.
about myself. And since I've stopped that, I need to do this. I need to manage my weight. I need to manage my diet to a T. That stress has come off, but the stress has come in is like, you are kind of gaining weight. You should probably eat a little bit
Yeah.
more of this than that.
There's a balance to be struck.
There's definitely a balance to be struck, but I was looking, I've got all the footage from throughout the years from our
Yeah.
first podcast and everything, and I see how all of us have kind of changed throughout the years, and it's always kind of interesting to kind of see like, what was my mindset right then?
Right.
How's that
Boy,
mindset?
I'm a
compared-
fucking yo-yo. I mean, 250, 180, 250, 180.
Yeah,
like,
and
it never stops.
I specifically remember the first podcast we had together because you actually drank on that one, like a small amount. It was
Yeah, yeah.
4 years ago now.
That
Yeah, I
shocks
remember-
me.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
small amount.
No, it wasn't a small amount. I mean, you got drunk. Yeah.
Probably got-
Yeah, I got
I
fucked
think
up
I
with
might
you.
have brought. I think I might have brought a bottle. Of
Yeah.
whiskey.
It was. I specifically remember, feeling buzzed on that podcast. And we're all kind of buzzed because you were playing and singing, and we're like, "Man, this song is so good." But,
Yeah.
and that's when the emotions are running a little high. But seeing that change, and then the mental mindset that's changed for me in ways it's made me mentally more healthy because I've taken a lot of negative thought process out. But physiologically, I'm not taking as good a care of myself as I could. So I'm like, Got to find that middle ground there where I went from being super strict, like don't put that food in my face. I mean, I remember times when you were hardcore keto and I was just like, oh yeah, I've been doing that for a year. You know, like when we first met, I was like probably as light as I ever was,
Right.
like I was like basically keto, like no carbs, no processed sugar, very limited calorie intake. And I was like tiny. I mean, I like had no fat on my body whatsoever. And I did that for years and I felt pretty good. But it did flare up like depression. I'm not sure why, but like somebody tried to explain it to me as like, depending on your diet, you could have higher iron and this and that can lead to higher cortisol, which blah, 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 bleeds into depression, right? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so when you go from really, really focusing on like, and I'm sure you did it to yourself as well.
You had depression when you got off the diet, or while you was on?
While I was on it.
While you was
because I
dieting,
was so
yeah.
heavy on myself, like, don't touch that. If you touch that, that makes you less.
Well, let me ask you this, man, and not to dig, but to me again, just to gear back to that, everybody's got some kind of a mental thing going on with something. I mean, what mentally made you want to focus so hard on your diet to way that
body
you know what I'm
dysmorphia.
saying? I mean, if
what
you,
it
if you
is.
could circle it back,
He had it beaten in his head during wrestling.
Well, and the same as I was thinking when you was talking too, just because I'm constantly trying to check myself now, so I try to think of this. But like you were talking about your dad, like he was so adamant that if somebody said that he was drinking too much, that he would go 6 months
Defensive.
just to prove the point.
Right.
Yeah. And just like you said somebody said something about bangs, and you're like, I don't need those. You know what I mean? But what is it that makes us grab for those things?
I know.
You know what I'm saying? That makes us grab for those
I will
defenses and hard cores in our life. You know what I mean?
So
Tribalism, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I noticed, and it's the same thing that Jacob said, and I'm sure you've heard the same thoughts in your head, was I knew it became a problem when I started to hide it. When you start to hide things, that's when you're being dishonest with yourself.
Right.
But when you start to hide things from yourself,
Yeah.
is when it gets even weirder.
Yeah, right.
Because I've been there too.
Yeah, so I realized that I was hiding meals from myself and from other people. I would eat food and then be like, I'm still fucking hungry.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I was like, okay, well, don't hide the food thing. But then also, when I was like very strict on my diet, just don't food out. Don't food out. And when people would offer me food, I'd take it and not eat it. And so morally, I felt bad about that because I've always been of the mentality, if anybody offers you a free meal, you eat that damn meal.
Yeah.
You eat it because you never know at what point in your life you're going to be like, damn, I wish I had a free meal.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I was very chubby. Like for my stature, I was
Yeah.
very, very, very short, even shorter than I am now growing up, obviously. But I wasn't very fat, but my sister was much more fit than I was. And so I would always look at, people around me and be like, okay, well, I'm kind of chubby. This makes me feel bad about myself that I'm not as skinny as other people.
Was it a big thing in your family? I mean, did
No.
your mom and dad harp about,
No, so-
about health?
No, not at all. My dad was very, very subtle about it. He didn't ever really bring it up, but what he did do was he always made sure that we had our vegetables, our fruits. He cooked for us like this generation does not cook.
Yeah.
Okay. I
No,
mean, we
for
had
sure.
meals. This guy worked third shift and still cooked us dinner and lunch every time that he could, right? And he always made it a point. You need vegetables. You're not leaving this damn table till you eat the green shit on your plate,
Right.
And then also, you're eating all your food too. Like, don't leave a whole ass plate here because, first of all, go to bed. If you ain't hungry, go to bed.
Right.
Get in your room, go to bed, no games, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So in my head, what I realized, what that conditioned me for was eat all your food as quickly as possible so I can be done eating, right?
Right.
And then also, I have to eat my whole meal. So anytime I go out to eat, anybody who knows me and sees me go out to eat, I shovel my food down.
Bro,
I
we are
I'm
the
way,
same.
man.
Brooklyn, I've talked to Brooklyn about that a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, I won't not eat all my food.
Yeah, I won't either.
That is
man.
something I struggle with. And like, I will be to the point where I am struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't have to keep eating just because it's in front of you. I'm like, no. I paid for it.
Yeah.
Like it's
same way,
mine.
man.
Yeah.
And like, and I try to eat slow. Like I do the whole thing. I put it in my mouth, chew, count while you're chewing, swallow, and I will still be done in 5 fucking minutes flat. And
Yeah.
Brooklyn's over there just
Yeah.
Yeah.
check her phone in between bites, watch some TV. I'm like, how do you do? Like, and she's tiny, and I'm very not tiny, so. It's definitely that thought process goes a lot into that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed that, like I said, it was something that I never really thought about until like I had heard people say like, why are you so fucking picky about your diet?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing was, my diet was very, for a long time was very restricted and not necessarily the healthiest stuff. I would eat in a way that I could still eat some of the things I enjoyed, but I was avoiding a lot of the processed stuff. So I could still eat a ton and clean my plate up and go back for more. So I didn't necessarily kill that mentality. I just kind of found a way to feed it in a different way, and I didn't realize how much like mental, like it's so hard to explain because when I was going through all these things, I was, single, living by myself, didn't have a pet, didn't have, a lot of people. I mean, I had friends and stuff like that I went and saw and hung out with, but, I'm an introverted person. I like to stay home. I like to go on walks by myself, stuff like that.
Right.
So when you're in your own head all the time, it's hard to see the alternate perspective. That hole in the back of your head that everyone else can see,
Right.
it gets bigger and bigger and you can't see it at all. Because there's no one that says like, dude, do you see what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Like, do you see it?
Right.
Because it's hard to, like you said. And this year, like I said, I've taken a step back and said, you know what happens if I take that filter off? And it was kind of hard at first, but what I just, started doing was just eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
Just instead of like 1 meal or 2 meals, or like, I don't feel hungry, so I'm not going to eat, just eat your meals. And I started gaining weight and I was mad about it at first because I was like, I'd never gained weight at that rate because I'd never really ate at that rate.
Right.
And it took me back to my childhood where I remember sneaking into the kitchen, getting extra donuts, getting all this stuff. And I thought, is this good or is this bad? And I realized that when I was letting myself enjoy food, I was a lot happier.
Yeah.
Imagine that, something that like everybody loves to do and I'm allowing myself to enjoy it. I was like, damn, I can just go out and eat with people and have a good time and not sit here and be like, oh, I don't want to step on the scale when I get home. I don't want to think about that. And when I tell people this, they really laugh, especially guys. Especially guys laugh because they're like, why are you worried about your weight? Because when it comes down to it, most people are like, you're acting like a girl. You're acting like a girl, man. Why do you care about your weight? Acting like you're so fat all the time. I'm like, because in my head, there were so many different factors. There was the factor of, are you going to get old and be unhealthy and not be able to live the life you want?
Right.
Or are you going to like, hey, take some steps now so that when you get to the point where you want to settle down and have all these things, you can have them and enjoy them instead of having them and then be like, all right, now I got to get my ass in gear so I can enjoy them.
Right.
So it's been an ongoing fight for me whether or not I like where I want to settle, but it's definitely been something interesting. And one of the best things about this podcast that ties into that is we get to have conversations like this with people like yourself who have had real fights in their head that they can't tell anybody about necessarily at the time until they get shit worked out and they're like, all right, so this is how it happened for me. And every single story has like the same chapter in it that's the same. You know, there's a ton of different other things. The prologue and the end and the conclusion are always different.
Right.
But there's always that same point in people's head where they make some sort of choice or decision to either alter their path in a way that is a product or a reaction. You know, and to bring everything back full circle with that. We as people need to realize that we're not going.
Whoever's calling into the show, I don't answer private numbers, so call from your actual phone number or stop calling.
Yeah, it's gotten a little too weird with phone calls, but yeah, I definitely like get a lot of like really positive like mental vibes from this podcast because we'll go dark in here. We will talk about some of the deepest, darkest points of people's lives, but there's always in the end that little bit of I can get out of this. There's always that redeeming quality that seems like even no matter how deep some of these people are in that hole, they still want out of it. No matter what, even if they're complacent in the hole, in the back of their head where that same hole is, there's light shining through. You know, wanting to shine through, right?
What I was talking about earlier about how I think it would be interesting if somehow we could be like I wish that I knew when I was drinking, you know, why I was drinking. That I figured out after I quit drinking and stopped drinking, I figured out that I had this social anxiety and I figured out this reason that I was drinking. But the other step to that is I had to figure out how to deal with it, how to handle it without using alcohol. And I did. And it was a longer road and it was a harder road, but I realized that there were some skeletons in my closet that I didn't know about. There was some stuff that I wasn't working through. So I realized that, you know, that I needed some therapy and you know, maybe I needed to talk about some stuff. And I realized that when I go out, you know, that I have to limit. Like I love people and I love talking to people and obviously it's what I do. But there's only I have to limit myself and make sure that I'm taking care of myself and not, you know, if I'm getting anxious because there's a lot of people coming up or something, that it's okay to, hey guys, I'm going to step outside for a minute and take a breath. You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that you learn once you reach a place of sobriety. So, and I think that's why I'm so observant with myself and even the people around me. And another thing I try not to do is try not to give advice. Unsolicited advice. I used when I first got sober, I would do that a lot, and I found out that that's not healthy either. So anyway, what I found is I wish that I could share that with people because once I found that out about myself, I was able to help myself mentally in a way that I can't describe to people. You know what I mean? Once you kind of fix the thing that's under the Band-Aid that you don't know about. So something I do in my life, if I get in anything, you know, that I feel like I'm covering up a little bit, I'll try to look under the surface and see. So I was just thinking, like when you were talking about Bang energy drinks, the first thing I thought about is, you know, why do you, what does the Bang energy drink correct for yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that you need more sleep? Is it that you need, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's just an example, you know what I'm saying, that I'm thinking about. Because that was it for me. Like, I had to figure out that just because I was drinking and was able to take on all this at the show because I was drinking, now that I'm not drinking, I can't do that anymore. And I probably couldn't do it back then. I was still going home feeling this sense of anxiousness after I wasn't drunk that I was like, where is this coming from? It's like, oh yeah, you're forcing yourself to do something over here that you're not really comfortable with. You're just able to do it once you're in this other state of mind. You know what I mean?
It's a weird thing that, like, you know, whenever, I'm eating right, whenever I'm going to bed on time, whenever I'm limiting my screen time, whenever I'm making sure I'm being affectionate and available for, the romance in my life.
Right.
Whenever I'm being there for my family, whenever I'm doing all these things correctly, like what you're supposed to do, it's like you feel so good. Like you're on a high all to itself, but it takes effort.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
hard to do.
Yeah,
it's not easy to. It's impossible in some aspects. You know what I mean?
All it takes is like one day of not doing that, and it takes you like 3 months to circle around to the point where you're like, "Fuck, I need to start doing this shit again."
Right.
And it's weird that like, as a person, and I feel like it's wired in all of us to a degree. Some more than others, obviously, but I feel like it's wired in all of us to be like it's easier to just do nothing. It's easier to just eat like shit, go to bed whenever the fuck you feel like it, struggle through getting up, slam an energy drink, stop at a gas station, grab a fucking cheeseburger, for lunch, grab some fast food and keep on going about your day. When you get home, fuck no, you're not tired. You just slammed an energy drink. Stay up till midnight playing video games.
Right.
Alarm clock goes off at 6, do it all again.
For sure.
Throw on weight, don't talk to your family, suck yourself into social media, argue about who's going to be the president, and continue with your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to kind of get in that toxic cycle, really.
Yeah.
And the last time I really dieted was when I was about to go on vacation. I dieted for the 2 weeks before vacation, and I told you, I was like, man, Brooklyn doesn't want me to keep eating. I was eating keto like I always do.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, she don't want me to keep eating like this through vacation because we want to be able to try new foods and check out these places and stuff. And I was like, but I really feel like if I give it up, I won't get back on it for a while. So I think I'm just gonna tell her like I want to keep going with it. Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, it's a good idea, man. As long as that's what you want to do, So I told her, and she was like, yeah, it's fine, absolutely, no, no pressure, whatever you want to do. Yeah, that fucking ruined as soon as I seen the Wendy's in the airport. I wasn't even in Key West yet. I was in Atlanta, I think. I was in Atlanta at the Wendy's, and we got in line because she wanted some food, and I was like, yeah, I'll just get a burger and take the buns off like I always do, no big deal. And she was like, what'd you like? I was like, spicy McChicken, large sweet tea. I was like, well, fuck, I already ordered it. And it's like this game that I, like in my head, I think I knew exactly what I was going to fucking do right then. But I told myself, like, no, you're going to get the same food you always do. And then once you say it, you're like, oh, well, you already said it.
Well, the guys done bought me the shot. I better take it. You know what I'm saying? It's the same.
So, and, like I said, I know how socially dependent I am. And so things come a lot easier to me to do things correctly when I've got a partner in crime. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like right now, I think I told you about it last week, but, I've been eating right with my girlfriend Brooklyn for 2 weeks now, I think.
Yeah.
Or something. And it's to the point where it's just what we do. And it's nice because we both feel better. Our joint pain goes away. We're fucking in our 20s and have joint pain. You know what I mean? Like, you feel better. You have more energy. It's easier to get up with your alarm clock. Like, you just feel better. Because, by the way, we're in our 20s. We live off Frederica Street in fucking Owensboro. So what do you think we eat for dinner every night? You know what I mean? Like, we would spend $40-$50 a night going to Roadhouse, going to Cheddar's, you know what I mean? It's so easy. Why would you cook? Why would you ever go get? By the way, we'd still go get groceries and then just fucking throw them away in 2 weeks. So these past 2 weeks have been so nice because I've never been one to cook. I don't give a shit about cooking. My whole thing's always been I'll just go get Wendy's. Like, it's not a big deal. And Brooklyn actually brought up to me, she was like, I would appreciate. I don't expect you to cook meals for us, but if you just be in here with me, like, instead of watching TV, watching your show, if you just, like, stir the green beans for me, we could, like, bullshit. I feel like I'm alone in here, and I would like some company. Yeah. And so for these past 2 weeks, I've been, looking up recipes, and I've been grilling chicken and grilling some burgers, and, it's just so fun, like, knowing that fun we both feel better, we're both losing weight, we're both eating right, and we're both in it together.
And it's something. That's my thing. Even if you look at it from like a relationship thing, it's something that you guys can do together. You know what I'm saying?
And she has bad days and leans on me, and I have bad days and I lean on her. Right. And it's as long as we're not having bad days at the same time, it's the main thing. But it's been super nice, and that's, you know, the last time we did it right before vacation, we were very successful.
Yeah.
Like we both dropped like 20 pounds right before we went to Key West, you know, and I felt confident and I was like happy about it. And then Brooklyn got the comment made to her, and I was like, who? But someone told her, oh, girl, you need to eat a cheeseburger. And that made her feel her self-esteem took a hit in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Where she felt like she was uncomfortable in her own skin. She wanted to lose a couple pounds. She got to where she was happy, and then someone said, well, damn, you need to gain weight.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh. You know, like,
I know.
In man or woman, that has an effect on you.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And
I feel like probably body dysmorphia and things like that is probably way more prevalent in everybody than it's ever talked about. You
It's
know
tough,
what I mean?
man.
I think everybody thinks about it in some form or fashion. Some worse than others, obviously, but it's something else. And here's the interesting thing about that I'm thinking too. Like, you know, that probably affected her so much to hear that, and she probably took something from that person. But that person could have just been struggling with their own thing, the burger that they just ate, and then seen that person was like,
you know, I know the person dearly. It wasn't meant to be a negative or derogatory statement. It was, they love her, and they seen a small girl on a diet, and they were like, you don't need to diet, you know, you're fine. They were trying to give her self-esteem boost, but what people have to realize is that it's not your reality, it's hers.
Right.
So as long as she's healthy, you know, she's not 70 pounds trying to lose weight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, as long as she's healthy, whatever she wants to do with her body, let her do. Whether that's gain 40 pounds or lose 15 pounds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so and I've been pretty open with my weight fluctuations and my goals and my dieting because, you know, I was always a fat kid. Always.
Yeah.
Like, always. And when I got to the point where I was junior in high school, I think, the bullying got to the point. I've always had titties. Like, I've always had man titties. I don't know why. Probably because I was fat as a kid, so you develop gynecomastia. I feel like I have that, but I don't know. I haven't got checked out. But I've always had titties, and obviously as a teenager with titties, kids fucking flip your titty going down the hallway in school, and you get picked on all the time, and going on fucking field trips to Holiday World's a nightmare, and slipping slides at your friend's backyard, and, you know, like, all these things make you uncomfortable. And so when I was probably a junior in high school,
isn't that awful? Too,
I said enough,
that comes with that,
and I just stopped eating.
Yeah,
I just stopped eating. I was like, fuck it, the bullying's not worth it. So I just stopped eating, and I dropped all the way down. I fucking got to 150 pounds. And, you know, almost 6 foot, 150 pounds, I was a toothpick, man.
Yeah.
And I was, like, I remember getting on the scale every single morning and being mad that my weight wasn't dropping anymore.
Yeah.
When I got to 150, my body was like, nah, dude, you're done. Like, we're not going lower than this. You're going to have to try a lot harder to go lower. And I was in PE running a mile a day, and I was in weightlifting, and I wasn't eating anything.
Yeah.
And so my body just was like, nah, dude, we're putting a cap on this right here. And so I remember being seriously upset about that. And then my mom passed away. And this was like a year time span. So I lost down to 150, and then my mom passed away. And that triggered me eating again. Because that's where I found comfort. I knew that I would feel better if I had these foods.
Yeah.
And boom, like a rocket ship, dude. I went up to 270 pounds. And that was the last time I weighed myself. I definitely got bigger than that. And so ever since, it's been this case of a severe body dysmorphia for me, I feel like, because I'll have days where, like, I don't even want to look at myself. Like, I'm like, dude, you're fucking gross. Like, and I'll feel that way, like, on a deep level, like, where I just disgust. And I'm very open with my girl. I love her so much that I can express my feelings. I don't ever feel like I can't come to her with something.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, Jacob, I don't want to bring it to you like this, but, like, no one else sees you that way.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, but I do.
Right.
And I was like, so now, you know, this thing always happens, and it always comes about 230, 235. When I get to that weight range, I'll feel like really gross. Like, my clothes will start fitting tight.
Yeah.
And, you know, my waistbands, I have to, like, suck in to pop the button on them and shit. And then I, like, start bullying myself internally, and it forces me to lose weight. and then I'll lose a couple pounds, and I'll be like, all right, I'm happy again, and then I'll go right back up.
Yeah.
So this year, I'm setting a goal for myself of just being confident with my shirt off. That's my whole goal. I'm not gonna put a number on it. I'm not gonna, because when I put a number on something, boy, let me
That's
tell you,
important,
it's
though,
fucking game on when I put a
Yeah.
number on something. Like, I will get psychotic about it.
Right.
So instead of trying to play like those mental gymnastics and focusing in on like, like it's the whole thing. I think it just goes back to like that 150. Every day I'd weigh in. It's like, it has to be under 150. It has to, So when I put a number on something, it gets weird with me.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, like I said, I just want to be comfortable. Like, and when we went to Key West, I was like 215 pounds, and I was confident with myself. We recorded videos of us in the ocean and doing all this fun stuff, and I had no thoughts about, oh, my shirt's off and I'm on camera, and people are gonna see it. You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting? Have you ever did the thing where you, I'm sure with the podcast you've had to have done this before, talking about looking back. Have you ever did the thing where you look back and you see yourself on something and think like, can remember thinking how heavy you thought you were there.
Yeah.
And then you've gained weight since then.
Right.
Thinking, God, I was little then. Like, I've gained weight now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the best example of body dysmorphia as I can ever think of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To think, like, you can look at yourself then and think, God, I look really good there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, and it's a crazy thing. Actually, the beginning of this year, I've always struggled with my weight, man. And I come from a line of large boys,
Yeah.
large boys. And the beginning of this year, actually going into COVID times, I decided to get off my medicine. I've been on Adderall for like 5 years.
Oh, meth.
And, yeah, meth. Yeah, exactly. I was prescribed it, and it did. It helped my mental health, man, and it kept me right. But I'd been on it so long, and all the research that you can look up is correct. I mean, after so long, you start to feel these long-term effects from it and stuff, and I was starting to feel some of that stuff. And so I made the choice that I wanted to get off of it. Well, the downside to that is it's an appetite suppressant.
Really?
And you don't realize how much it is, especially because you're talking about I was on a low dose. It wasn't something that was like I wasn't feeling like super high off of it or anything every day.
Yeah.
It was just in the background, you know what I mean? But also when you take it for that long, you don't realize how much it suppresses your appetite in the first place. So anyway, I got off that the first of this year, and you talk about your appetite coming back and everything, and I've gained about 25 pounds, I guess, since.
Well, that's COVID too.
then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
Everybody I know.
Lockdown, yeah.
No, absolutely, but I've struggled with that myself, you know what I mean? Because it's weight that like will not come off. Like I've been working so hard here lately to get it off, and just here recently, actually, I did this flip cycle thing. I've always did this thing in my brain where I wanted to be smaller, and it was all about losing weight. And I've never been somebody that was like, "How about you work to be the right kind of big?" And so here lately, and I'm in the process of trying to find a good trainer, and that's my next goal. Is I'm gonna for the first time in my life, I'm gonna go bulk, man.
I'm about to give you a name.
Yeah, seriously, man.
Stephen Clark.
Stephen
Oh,
Clark.
right on.
Absolutely.
He's a personal trainer and a life coach.
I know. I don't know Stephen well, but
You've heard his name, seen him around, I'm sure.
we went to school together to Apollo for a little bit. Did he go to?
He went to OHS. I went to
OHS too, so I went to
yeah.
both. So
Oh, there you go.
maybe
Yeah,
where
she's
it
on
is.
there.
Dance instructor.
Dance, yep.
Yeah, okay, I know who you're
Yeah,
talking
he's-
about.
He's
You didn't hit him up?
he's an individual who, I've been exposed to his program before, his bodyweight training boot camp, and this guy is committed to like flipping people completely over on their head, where he's giving people every tool and put it in front of you and make you make the decision that you want to fix yourself in the ways that you lay for. Not, here's my plan, you have to do this. This is all about you creating that mentality for yourself. And it's not just about the workouts. Like, obviously I don't want to give away all his secret sauce and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's one of those individuals that is super highly motivated, and like anything in his program that he can add to it to make it better, he does.
Yeah.
And if anything, being exposed to his program gave me like the best look at myself possible for the time where I was like, man, I love your program. It's perfect. But mentally right now, I can't do it. I wish that I could say I'm ready to make that accountability step now.
Yeah.
But right now I'm in a relationship where I like want to be all about her, spend so much time with her that like in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, I got to get back to like taking real serious care of myself.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I want to make this is what, he does such a good job of like taking your input and not his.
Yeah.
And I would definitely recommend him as a guy to like, if you're legit serious about going from, what you consider your normal to like taking yourself to Josh 2.0, 3.0.
Yeah.
He's the Owensboro legend right now.
Yeah,
So,
I hear his name a lot. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people that's worked
Yeah.
with
He's the
him.
man,
So
bro.
I'm
He's a
gonna
guy
have
to work with.
I'm gonna have to
Super-
get in touch with him for
Yeah.
sure, man.
yeah,
It's-
absolutely. And he
I'd be
practices what he
interested in.
preaches. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
He's not just somebody that like you pay a guy for lessons. He shows up at the gym, do the thing. Come on, do the thing.
Right.
He's like in there with you. He's like, do you want to meet person? Do you want to do voice calls? He wants to talk to you. He wants to keep the open communication there. So I think he's probably one of the best physical trainers in Owensboro. I mean, you can't, and he's constantly adding things to his repertoire when it comes to being a dietitian, changing, the way that we look at ourselves. I mean, I can't say enough about him, obviously, but if you are serious about it, I would hit the guy up because
I'm going to, man. That's you guys just
because
Yeah.
we
Hell
all,
of a sales pitch.
y'all
but-
just
yeah.
did something for me
well,
there. I
I'll
like
tell you
that,
what,
man. I'm
so,
gonna have to
so
check 'em
many
out.
of us try to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
We try to like, all right, I'm going to work out and get fit. That's what we
Right.
think. in
That
our
works
head.
for the first 2 weeks of the year.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we don't hold ourselves accountable. That's one of the big things that can really trouble people who are trying to make themselves better is like, it's hard to hold yourself accountable sometimes when you don't have accountability buddy.
Right.
But once you create that circle, which, like I said, is a very personable guy who you can be around and talk to and be open with, he's just like, you just become part of a community with him, and so I think that if you're serious about it, I would definitely,
Yeah, that'd
like I
be-
said, not to harp on it too much,
absolutely.
but
Definitely.
That would be that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's one of the two things that I'm as far as me working on myself right now, the two big things in my life that I'm trying to is realizing that I can't do everything myself.
That's a tough one.
And it's okay. Yeah. And the second one, and it's more of a personal thing that is not giving unsolicited advice. I think that's something that everybody struggles with a little bit. And going back to Brooke in the airport or whatever, you know what I'm saying? That person was trying to help, but sometimes trying to help interfere. And I catch myself doing that all the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, it's a weird exercise that I've been trying in the last 6 months is to not, even if I think it's for the benefit, is to not, not to give unsolicited advice. I've got a friend that every day tries to give advice. She'll give, and she'll give advice about things that she's obviously not preaching, or not practicing and stuff too. And
That's always the weird ones. Like, it's like going to a fat doctor that's telling you to lose weight. You're like, bro, fuck you. You lose. Don't tell me about my 15 pounds, motherfucker.
dude, this is no joke. I got to tell this story real quick.
Let me
man.
cut in right
Oh yeah,
before you do that, okay?
go for it.
Guys, I appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. We've got a couple of people watching live. We're going to go ahead and do our second giveaway of the hand-signed Josh Merritt new album. Before we do, if you're new to our channel, please hit that like button so you stay up to date on our future podcasts as well as gaming live streams, as well as hit that share button. Please share this live stream with your friends. I don't know how much longer we're going to be live. Hopefully a lot longer for you guys. But I tell you what, first person, he's got Thick Boy on his hoodie. First person to comment Thick Boy in the chat gets the second and last edition of the hand-signed new album from Josh Merritt.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead, my friend.
Oh yeah. So I went to this doctor. I have had this hernia for a little bit in my stomach. So I went to this general surgeon or whatever, and he came in and checked me out, and he's like, "Yeah, I can fix this thing, man." He said, "But you need to lose about 50 pounds." He said, "Or take a chance of re-ripping this open, or he's like, really where the hernia is at, it's because of your weight, that's probably what caused it to happen or whatever." And And he went into this cycle where he was saying, he's like, well, you need to lose about 50 pounds.
Just kept coming back to it.
Here's the deal. I probably should have started with this, but this was a very large man that was telling me this. And he kept saying, he was like, you just really need to lose some weight, man. And he just kept harping on it. And finally I asked him, I was like, got any recommendations, bub?
Yeah. Like,
What do you do to stay so thin? What's your diet plan?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, what are you, a world cyclist or something? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man?
When's the last time you ran the Tour de France, bud?
right.
yeah.
But yeah, it's insane.
That's always
man.
funny. I'd noticed that, especially on the topic of trying not to give unsolicited advice. It is tough, man. Because like, there's some people that like you can see them like they'll say everything but help me.
Right.
They'll say everything but help me.
And here's the deal, and this is my thing too. To me, it's different if you've seen somebody hurt themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or seeing somebody damage themselves. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But to just tell somebody, hey, you need to eat a cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Why do they need to
That's
eat a cheeseburger?
not even really advice.
Well,
yeah. You know
And
what I'm saying?
I said, I can't stress enough. It was supposed to be like a positive reinforcement that
Yeah.
she doesn't
No, I
need
know,
to lose
but
weight.
no, it's a-
yeah, but
that's exactly what I mean.
right.
That's what I mean. For me, like I catch myself a lot because I do over. I'm the type of person, if I want to know something, if somebody says something I don't know about it, I will go look it up. I will research it. I'm like, I love information. So because of that, I feel like anytime something comes along, I got to stick my little tail in there. You know what I mean? Oh, I know about that. Let me see. And
That's my favorite thing to do.
me too.
Especially going through zoos and shit.
No, it is me too.
Yeah.
And it's not always a bad thing. It's not. It's just something that I found. I found for myself that I think it's going to make me. I think it's going to make me a better version of myself to become a better listener, to listen to people, and also to let people be as they are and who they want to be. You know, I don't know. The same friend I was talking about, they like to give like parenting advice and stuff, and that's where it gets really crazy. Is somebody giving you parent, because everybody's a different kind of parent. Everybody wants to parent.
You know,
a
we
different
give
way.
a lot of parenting advice. We don't have kids.
Yeah, no.
I remember us being in here talking about parenting, like, we should probably shut up. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, it's like, we kind of have this idea of like, all right, well, we kind of want to.
Can't be that hard.
Right? And then, I'm
Josh is biting his lip right now. He's
Well,
like,
I was gonna
"Ooh, let
say-
me go ahead and tear
I
in
was
on
gonna
this."
say y'all are my favorite kind of people, then, because I promise you,
yeah.
promise you, it's
like,
like
my
I,
thing-
I love hearing people that don't have kids talk about being a parent. And I'm like, you have no idea.
My whole thing is like, whenever somebody's telling me something, I listen, and if they want, you know, I feel like Chase can probably attest to this. If they want feedback, I'll be a table for them to bounce their ideas off.
Well,
of.
that's solicited
But-
advice. That's
right.
somebody asking.
Yeah.
Exactly,
you know,
and I
for you to
tell people up
participate.
front, I'm like, "Are you asking my opinion?"
Yeah.
Because like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you my opinion,
Right.
But you got to be prepared that it's probably not gonna be like what you want to hear.
And that's
'Cause-
exactly what I try to do.
Yeah.
If I feel that little bug tickle in the back of my throat, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll
Yeah.
say, hey, do you want some advice here?
Yeah.
And then you've opened the door
Right.
for it. You know what I mean? But even as small as like going out and telling somebody like, hey man, that truck would run better if you'd put I hear a little buzz in
Yeah.
there, and you know it's something that could help this person. You know what I mean? Maybe they like it. Maybe it
pisses some people
maybe
off.
it decreases their anxiety
Yeah.
to hear the bearings in their wheels go out. You know what I'm saying? How do I know? You
Do we got a winner yet on there?
No, I recommented in there because I know people are coming and going.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanna
First
make sure.
person to comment, Thick Boy in the chat,
Thick Boy.
wins Josh Merritt's new album, hand signed by the legend himself.
Yeah. Y'all got any favorite podcasts right now? Sorry to change.
Man,
the subject.
my favorite, it quickly went to the top of my leaderboard. Is Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura.
Cynthia Murray just told me, my friend Cynthia
Yeah.
Murray, the one who was singing with me, she just said, like, she said, you have to watch
They are
this.
fucking. There's no better duo than them.
Dude, I'm always late to every party, but I'm huge, I'm a huge Theo Von fan
Yeah.
right now, dude. I mean,
Theo's
like
hilarious.
a super fan right now,
Yeah.
just going back and catching up on all of his stuff. So then that segment, like the King and the Sting, I love that and this is Brennan
Yeah.
Schaub's
I
brand
know
here.
who that
so-
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
Thick
dude,
Boy
I'm-
Bike Club.
Oh yeah, man, I've been
I
all
like-
about it here lately.
I like Brendan Schaub on his podcast, like Below the Belt.
Yeah.
I do not like Brendan Schaub paired with someone. Like with Theo Von, like King of the Sing, I like Theo on there,
Yeah.
but I don't like Brendan on there. And
See, I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I don't, and I like Brendan Schaub. I like
Yeah.
on The Fighter and the Kid or whatever. But I like the way he plays off of Theo Von. I don't know why, because I feel like Theo Von is such a
He's a wild card.
he's
man.
so out there, and he
Yeah.
says outlandish
So
stuff.
calmly too. Yeah.
He's like
got
a
a different
constant
brainwave.
He's like a constant sarcasm. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He's a constant state of sarcasm. And I think why I like the King of the Sting so much is Brendan Schaub is very good about just going with it without missing a
And
beat.
he's very like, he tells you exactly how he feels, whether you agree with him or not. Like, he does say like, this is what's going to happen. So he is very forward. So Theo plays off of that very, very well too.
Yeah.
Where like, if Brennan says something stupid, then Theo can like say something even more stupid to make him look silly.
Right,
Which
right.
I love about that dynamic. We just got called out, Jacob. Matt Jean said, didn't see y'all at the gym tonight. Y'all should bring Josh tomorrow.
Hey,
We should, Matt.
down
We
at
should.
Gracie Owensboro.
Where y'all go to the gym at?
Gracie Owensboro. It's
Where's
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I got
in
you.
AOC or OAC.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
OAC, Owensboro Athletic
I'd
Club.
get my ass whipped in there.
That's the point. Yeah.
It's a learning experience. Yeah, it's so much fun. Bro, I went back in there for the first time in a long time. And it was like I never missed a beat. Everybody was super fucking friendly. But
Every time it's like
bro,
that.
I was
good folks.
I was training with this dude. He said he'd been there for a couple of months. And I was like, God damn, I'm rusty.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. And then, of course,
I'm interested. It's like, what is the approach? Because I've always wondered. I've never taken a course like
So
that or
they
a
do-
class like that. Or
they do rotating 12-month curriculum.
Yeah.
And so, it's always learning something new or building on to something you've learned. So, the beginning of the week, Josh Hayden is the one who owns Gracie Owensboro. He's the black belt. He's the man, the
I got you.
instructor. And he will introduce to you a new thing, whether it's the Kimura, the triangle choke.
sort of lock or move or position or
so you're
something.
going in to learn like a move.
It's
like,
a class.
Like
You
It's-
got
yeah.
like on Monday you'll learn like the move. You'll drill it the next day. You spar with it, you roll with it, see how you like it, and then on Wednesday he'll introduce you just a little tweak to it. If this happens, you can do it from this angle.
Right.
You'll roll that, you'll drill that, and the next day, another tweak. You can also hit it from this side. Now we're going to introduce a takedown into this mount.
Yeah.
And so like he builds, and then new move, builds, and it's a really nice way of doing it. And then at the end of class, he likes to beat your dick into the dirt by doing bad positioning,
Which
for
is totally
6
optional.
rounds.
Which is totally
No,
optional.
it's not.
Yes.
If you sit out, you're a bitch. So bad positioning is exactly what it sounds like. You start off in a bad position, and you have to defend yourself or get to a neutral position, and then you tap out and you start again. So it's usually 3-minute rounds typically.
Depends on how much they want to work you that
It's
day.
either 3 or 5 minute rounds usually, but you'll start out with someone on your back. You'll be sitting flat on your butt, legs out in front of you. Someone would be on their butt, legs right beside you. And they'll start out with their hands over top of your shoulders, and then they'll say, "You ready?" Yep, and then defend yourself.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna try to choke you. They're gonna try to get an arm bar. They're gonna try to do whatever they can. You have to not only defend yourself, but get to a neutral position. And you'll learn more about like what that is if you come in. But and then you do that over and you'll do it from back take. You'll do it from turtle. You'll do it from all kinds of different bad positions that really suck a lot to be in.
Yeah, the cool thing about it is it's hard to get into a routine of like lifting weights and running. It's kind of boring. You're generally by yourself. You don't have much community with it unless you got friends that are doing it too, right?
Right.
The thing that I love about martial arts in general, specifically Gracie Owensboro, because it's there and present in that building more than you see in a lot of other places, is that you walk in there and you're immediately greeted with positivity. There's all kinds of people there that like, we're so happy that you're here.
That's awesome.
We're
It's
so,
a community.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about the meatheads like, I want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Like you're in here,
And
I'm
see,
going to make you
I know that that's a
embarrassed.
stigma, and it's a stigma that's in my
We
brain.
were
I think.
terrified to
Yeah.
go.
Terrified.
Me and Chase were thinking about it for a year before we ever went to Gracie's.
Yeah.
We walked in and we literally laughed when we left. We were like, why the fuck did we wait so long? Like, we were
Yeah.
terrified we were going to go in there and get our asses whipped.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we did.
Yeah.
But it was in a very nice way.
I love it, man.
And it keeps you coming back, man. And like, it's crazy how fast time goes because I feel
Yeah.
like I just went in there yesterday, and I know
Yeah.
it's been like a week or two now. But
Well, Joey Diaz, he's another guy. I listen
Yeah.
to a lot, but Joey Diaz, he's a big guy, and that was
Yeah.
the other thing is I'm a big guy. I didn't know how that would go going.
there's
in.
a lot of
Yeah.
big guys.
Awesome.
Dude, Matt Jean, super slim now. He's got like a six pack and everything. But there's a lot of guys in there that I've seen that were like, I don't want to go run on a treadmill. I don't want to do that. Like,
Dude.
I want to do something fun. And these people fall in love with it
You
they're
will
like, yeah.
never get a better cardio workout in your life.
It's
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: when you're on a treadmill, you can tell yourself like, all right, I'm gonna get to a mile and then I'm gonna chill out.
Right.
I'm gonna start walking, or ooh, I got side stitch. I'm gonna chill out for a little while. When you have a grown man trying to make you unconscious, you don't have the option of stopping.
Right.
You don't have that. It's not in your brain because your brain likes to play tricks on you. Well, when you're in your brain perceives as a life or death situation, it's not a fucking option.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to dig deep, and that's hard.
Yeah.
And you will be soaked head to toe, breathing so hard, trying to catch your breath, and it's so much fucking fun.
Oh
literally
It's
just
great,
laughing
man.
and cracking up. Like I said, the sense of community that you get from going in there and training with those guys, because the guys who have been doing it for decades know the kind of mentality it takes to come in there day after day,
Right.
to get your ass kicked every day,
Right.
get your ass kicked, beat, and still come back for
Right.
more,
Right.
and the kind of humbleness and mentality that it brings to the people that show up day in and day out trying to get better is something that you can't really replicate in almost any other fashion.
Yeah.
I like jujitsu a lot. Like I have not done it much in the past year. I definitely have my fair share of like aches and bruises from training. Like I overtrained for a couple years and was just in pain all the time. My neck hurt. But the thing is, it's one of those martial arts where you can go as hard or as soft as you like. You just ask the person next to you, hey, we're going all in this round. And you know what? The person may either be like, I need to take this round off. Can we go easy? Or,
Yeah.
it can be, all right, let's challenge each other here.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't go in there like, oh, I'm going to kill you. It's not that mentality, which a lot of people think it is. They're like, well, I don't even know what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah, I would.
It's-
That would be my
and
perception of
so
it.
many guys come in there the first day and they're like, yeah, I want to do the bad positioning. I want to be in it. And what they find out, they're like, why is everybody so calm while they're getting choked out?
Yeah.
It's because the first thing that you learn when you walk in that gym is
First of all, you're not going to get choked out. You'll tap
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
stop.
Yeah, right,
But
right,
Yeah,
but-
you'll definitely get choked, but not out.
you can stop at
Right.
any time. That's the best way.
Right,
I'm
right.
done. All right, I'm done. All right, fine. The first thing that you really learn in there before you learn anything else is to control your breathing. Because the moment you start
Panicking.
guess what your mind does? Tunnel vision. All your options for keeping yourself safe now seem like a narrow light. Like I don't know what I have to do to get out of here. I can't
Yeah.
see it. But when you keep your breath under control, okay, I feel him. He's trying to do this to me. Okay, I've learned how to keep people from doing that to me. You do it, and you're like, I don't have to freak out. When I don't freak out, I can keep myself safe. And so that mentality will transfer over into life.
Right.
When you're in a situation where you feel threatened and you start to, your adrenaline kicks in a little bit, the anxiety. Anxiety for a lot of people gets under control whenever they get like really heavy into martial arts because you learn how to control yourself in a situation where you may not be in control.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is a skill that translates so far beyond martial arts. Every
I
aspect
bet.
of your life. And you see like the kids that are in there, the kids programs, they're absolute savages, but then they
They're
run
fucking
up
savages, bro.
scary savages. And
Yeah.
they'll run up to like, hey, and they almost act like little adults. It's
Yeah.
weird because they have this sense of respect and like
And they have this understanding of physical conflict.
Yeah, yeah.
Of like, I can be hurt.
Yeah,
There are people
yeah.
who can hurt me.
And you also
know?
Right.
you get a chance to see guys who have been training for so long that they can come up to you and do things to you, and you can't do anything to stop them, and it feels like they're doing magic.
Yeah.
It feels like you just jumped in to the middle of the open ocean. Like I called Chase when I left. I was like, he was like, how was it? Because I told him, I was like, you want to go with me? He had something to do. So I called him after. He's like, how was it? I was like, I forgot what it was like to be in deep water.
Yeah.
I forgot. My last round of bad positioning, I rolled with a purple belt. And so you don't know, but it's white, which is what I am,
Yeah.
beginner belt, blue, purple, brown, black. And it's not like a lot of other disciplines like karate or
It's
taekwondo
5 to 8 years of hard training
where
to get
they
up
will
to the
just
level.
give
To
it
10,
to
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
This is like you have to fucking earn it. You
Yeah.
got to put the time in. You got to prove yourself. So rolling with a purple belt who knows what the fuck he's doing. And the great thing about jiu-jitsu is that when you roll with a purple belt as a white belt, the guys have a great way of like feeling you out.
Right,
They're like,
right.
I know where you're at, so I'm going to challenge you, but I'm not going to fucking wrap you up and break everything you have.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? It's a great way. And so, but you get the feeling of like, okay, it's like a Twister chess game.
Yeah.
You know, you're wrapped up, but you're like, okay, if I move my left palm to King 4, what happens? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, he's going for a Kimura. Okay, Gable grip. Okay, now he's going for this. Like, it's just like, it's a constant give and take. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of the fun thing about it is, you know, the last time I went in there, it was with another white belt who I was drilling with during class.
All the people that just joined that table, or sorry, that CD is still on the table.
Nobody's claimed that
The
shit?
first, Stacy, I see you trying to steal it. You can't have that. I'm sorry. You're outlawed. You're outlawed, Stacy. We know you've heard that album a million times. Anybody who comments Thick Boy will get Josh's new album, Rental Station. It's signed right over there in the
signed
Boom.
today.
That's right.
Call them out whenever they do it.
Yep.
You obviously got us started on a topic, so we can shut the
No,
fuck
no,
up.
no,
We
no,
can
it's
talk
all-
about this
it's all
forever.
good. I would-
But you should definitely come in. Let me know when you want to go. I'll absolutely go with you, and I'll drill with
I would
you
love
and
to,
the whole
man.
nine. That
I'd
way you'll
love to at least try it out, man. That'd be
the way
great.
you can feel comfortable and get a feel for what it's like. It's
That
a
would be
lot of
awesome.
fun.
The beginner experience there is very, very good. The coaches will step away from all the people that know what they're doing to like come and show you step by step and be patient with you and show you,
Right.
hey, we get it. This little movement you're doing, I know I'm making it look simple, but they will show you like, okay, your right leg, no, your other right, yeah, that's okay. Your right leg,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
the other right, come on, I know that leg, yep, there you go, now move it over. And they're so patient and so calm that it makes you wonder, like, man, more people should be trained in self-defense.
Yeah.
I mean, we've harped on that before on the podcast, and like you said, if you ever have the urge to like try something new and like do something that, let me tell you something. He was talking about me getting jacked a few years ago. I didn't lift weights very much at all. I just ran a little bit. I did a little bit of work with like medicine balls and kettlebells and stuff like that. But I was doing jiu-jitsu 5 times a week, and like I would get home and I was like, where are these veins coming from? And I was embarrassed because like people were commenting about it, like they were like, "Man, you look like you've been taking good care of yourself."
You
Like
fucking
you've been,
swole right now,
yeah,
Chase.
and I took that at here's how messed up my brain was. I was like, they're noticing me getting fatter, and so I started wearing more hoodies. I was like, holy shit! I was like, jujitsu's making me fat.
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh wait a second, it's not. It's really not.
The opposite.
So,
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, man. First day you go in there, you're gonna need like 3 days of recovery time.
Yeah.
like you're gonna hurt in places you didn't know could hurt, and it's gonna be like the sore after a strong workout. You know, like the repairing sore, not like the
Right.
bruise sore. But and then you'll get into a routine of going in, where you'll go 5 days a week with no problem.
Right.
And especially for someone with anxiety, whether it's social or otherwise,
Right.
that will help a lot, man. A lot of guys in there have a lot of that situation.
Well, I could see, man. And I've heard it said a million times over. I mean, I think the people that are the most either on one side nervous or on one side like aggressive are people that have anxiety in a certain way. And somebody's told me before, I've heard it somewhere, that it's usually, especially at the bars and stuff, the guy that's being the biggest tough guy over in the corner
has never been in a fight in his life.
Yeah, it's usually that he has some perception of danger in his mind. You know, that's what makes people.
He watches
like,
a lot of UFC and assumes that he can do a spinning wheel kick.
Yeah, well, not even that. I mean, like I know people that like, especially guys that didn't grow up. There's friends of mine that live out like in the county and that don't come into town a lot. They grew up in a closed community. So a lot of times, like back in the day when I would ask them to come to a bar or something, they'd be like, "Oh, I don't go to a bar. I get in a fight every time I go to a bar."
Oh, we know the
I'm
type.
like
Yeah.
fucking tough guy.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Watch
wow.
out, everybody.
Well, and here's the thing, like for the longest time, that's exactly the way I was. I was like, man, it would kill me if I knew I couldn't go hang out, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, or control myself or whatever. But then over time, I've learned that like they had some kind of anxiety about doing
Right.
that. It was some they
It
had
was
some
the what
fear.
if I get in a fight.
It
is
was
more
some
than
fear
likely.
that they were going to go in there and get hurt, which immediately put them on the defense walking through the door. So anyway, the point I was trying to make is, I could see where people that were trained to defend themselves,
Yeah.
like it to me, I don't think it would make you. I think there's probably a stigma that people think that would make you more of an aggressor, but
Yeah.
I bet it's the
Definitely
exact
not.
opposite.
I mean,
The black
Because
belts
you know-
are super chill.
Bro.
The chillest dudes you've
And
ever
why
met.
wouldn't they be? They could
Yeah.
snap your
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
neck.
It's that, like we have Drake Renfro in here quite a bit, and he's
Yeah.
a prime example, man. That dude, back when I was bar hopping, he was in every bar every time I was.
Yeah.
He was always down for a good time, and he was the most chill dude in the bar.
Yeah.
And it was because he had every right to be the most chill dude in the bar.
Right.
He's a fucking brown belt.
Right.
Like there's not a whole
There's
lot.
no anxiety.
most
There's
people
no,
are gonna do for
There's
him.
nothing
Yeah.
he needs to be worried about.
Right.
He's going to be able to handle it. For
And
the
most
part,
people
you know?
know Drake Renfro.
Yeah.
When most people say like, when you first time I ever asked about jiu-jitsu on Facebook, I was like, does anybody know anyone who goes to Gracie? I want to try it out, but I'm a little nervous. Everyone tagged Drake Renfro.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. Did we get a winner? I know you tried to chime in
Stacey
earlier.
said she was going to donate back. There was a couple of really sweet comments.
fucking
Linda
take it
and
home.
Jim said I was listening to Josh's rendition of Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison this season. I'm so impressed with his playing skills. I'm sure Johnny would have been pleased with his rendition. So
Thank you
those are
very much.
very
That's my
powerful
grandmother,
words.
by the way.
Thank you very
and
much. That means a lot.
Lisa Calloway said, "What's up? Hey, Josh." And of course,
Lisa.
Butch and I have it probably talking about the album. So,
Yeah.
So
I'm
man,
glad you guys
that's
got
kind
it,
of a
man.
nice little problem we're having here. Is all these people have your album already?
have it
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
not a bad problem to have.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. I
Yeah,
love
absolutely. But yeah, still on the table. If there's no Grabbers Night every Wednesday, we're here. So
You
except
got
for
it.
today, so you got the special
Hell
edition.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, here on a
And
Tuesday night.
I can leave you guys some too, man. If you
Okay.
want to give them out, man, that'd
Yeah.
be great. That'd be great.
Definitely want to have more people see this album because I was watching your set on Red Barn Radio, and I was just watching Sierra Farrell on there a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and
Man, she's awesome, isn't she?
Right. And because I've been trying to learn In Dreams, just a good little tune, right?
Yeah.
And not very hard to play. And I was watching that and I saw a thing for Red Barn Radio and I clicked on it. I was like, oh, I don't follow him on Facebook. I follow him on Facebook. Your name it said Josh Merritt will be here, next week. I was like, oh, holy shit.
That's awesome,
It was
man.
kind of funny it happened that way. But I definitely.
That makes me feel good, though, man. Thank
Yeah,
you,
I mean, man, I was just really happy that after long awaited, ever since you brought up the album on the first podcast years ago,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I can't wait for it because I just knew it was gonna be a great perfect album for something that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Just knowing you and getting to sit here and talk to you about your personal struggles, your successes and what you want out of your own musical journey and where it's going to take you in the future. And I did want to get a chance to ask you this since we've been all over the place. And I know you mentioned it kind of briefly was that you kind of wanted to this year take some steps in a health conscious direction. But for you, what's the next step for you as Josh Merritt, as somebody who you've this long awaited album that you put so much into that like you said you're a perfectionist, so you put so much effort into this. What is next for Josh Merritt as far as I know that you're going to want to play this music and continue to tour and stuff like that. But as far as your personal goals for your music and your next step in your career, what does that look like to you in 2021 going on, man?
Well, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Really, it's just trying to get the music out there. And I get that question a lot. What's next? And really, it's just to be a musical artist. It's just about spreading. It should be just about spreading the music. You know what I mean? So, obviously, the next thing is I'm in the works right now of putting a tour together. So we're going to do. And the thing is, we're wanting to do national dates, and that's something that I'm putting together. You know what I mean? But hopefully the thing that we hope we run into, and I've had a few hits, but nothing that I'm even considered so far, is to run into some artist management, and because those are steps to the bigger doors that can open up. So I'm hoping to find some touring agencies and stuff like that to work with, because the thing is with the music world, just like any world, there's only so far you can go by yourself,
Right.
And then you reach this door that you have to have the code to get through. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And or you have to know somebody
Gotta have a key to unlock
take
it.
you through. So that's the thing, man. So right now with what I'm doing, it's just about spreading the music until it finds the person that can say, hey, let's go over here. Hey, let's go over here. You know what I mean? So it really is a game of just get it out there as far as you can until that next person comes along. And I tell people, it's not about just sitting and waiting. That's definitely not what you want to do. But from the time I started playing music for a living to now, it's all the same. And people ask me this all the time, like, how do you get out there and put yourself out there to do it? It's putting yourself in a position to be seen by certain people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So with the album, the touring is very important, and it's why nobody wanted to release music last year. You know what I mean? Is because PR and touring. That's the two things when it goes to putting an album out, because those are the two things that are going to put your music in front of somebody that might be able to help you do something else with it. You know what I mean? And until those opportunities come along, you're kind of just hustling in one pool, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fishing in one pond. I've heard it described like that too, for real. And you have to fish the same pond until somebody comes along and says, hey, check my pond out.
Right.
You know what I mean? For real. So it's,
as long as it's not in a relationship.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You want to stick to your pond.
Yeah. Or we're not saying.
We're not getting caught poaching. You know what I mean?
Right.
See, Matt Jean said he wanted to see if you could teach Lacey to play the fiddle. Lacey Jean, maybe? I don't know.
Oh man, Lacey, she don't need no help. My gosh, Lacey's taught me more musically than I'll ever teach anybody in my life. She's a genius, man. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's good to hear
You
from
know
you,
the
Matt
comments?
Jean.
I know people like when we read their comments.
Yeah,
we try to
I
stay
was
on
trying
it,
to-
but like
It's hard when you get into discussions,
and
man.
the thing about our live chat is that it doesn't give us, like, when you watch it as a viewer, you get to see every comment as it comes up.
I noticed that when I was doing mine.
Yeah, when
man.
you're doing
There'd
a
be
live
so much
stream,
I didn't see.
Facebook filters out some of the comments. It only shows you what it thinks you're gonna want to see for
Right.
some reason, and there's no way to change that. It's fucking annoying.
And I wish, and maybe there is, and I don't know about it, but same as you guys, like as the person doing the podcast, I would just go to the video on the page and read it. I wish that Facebook had a way to view it that was just for the podcast or just for the program, the person that runs the page, so that you could see the comments in a way where you could see all of them,
Right.
and see the video in a way that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty much like a pain in the ass when it comes to the Facebook comments most of the time. And I hate that, because when we're doing giveaways like this, and if somebody's thing doesn't pop up quick because Facebook feels like it's a spam filter or something like that, it kind of annoys me, because it ruins the chance for people to either win things or at least chime in the conversation. And that's one of the biggest parts about this show, is having the people's interaction with, it's not just about what we're talking about here, but it's also how does it relate to our community?
Right.
We've touched on so many different topics today that some of them specifically relate to our community, and some of them, not at all.
Right.
But definitely appreciate everybody that's joined in and commented. Like I said,
It's
that
just
album's still out
me.
there. But
That's all that it's showing me.
yeah,
right
see,
there.
that's what I hate. That's what I
it
hate.
shows you 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, we appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. I'm not ready to end if you guys aren't, but I just wanted to say, if you haven't already, please like our podcast page, get notified every time we have another podcast. We are trying to grow our audience, and I know, Josh, you pull a significant amount of new viewers to our page, which is fantastic.
Right on,
also, if you haven't already, please share this. Even if you have, fuck it. Share it
Share
again.
it again.
Share it again to your news feed. We like all the comments coming in, the ones we can see anyway.
Yeah.
But
Definitely, one of the like I said, another good thing about the show is getting people getting their perspectives. That's a lot of times we rely on people from the community to come in here, and when they don't, hey, let us know in the comments or direct message us. We've had a lot of people direct message us about hey, saw what you were talking about on the podcast, I know the person you need to talk to.
Yeah.
And we love that interaction with people. And if anybody ever feels like they want to reach out to us because they may have that particular scenario, obviously anybody who's been a long time supporter of the podcast knows that everybody can walk through that door. We've had so many different people from so many different walks of life. And getting to sit here and talk with them is the heart of Take Cover Podcast,
For sure.
especially here in Owensboro, where we're a lot more diverse than a lot of people outside looking in would think. We're not
Right.
just some bum hick town with a bunch of racists in it. There's a lot of really good, powerful people in this community
Absolutely.
that have the potential to do really good, and more than that. So much more than just that in this community. So if anybody is watching a show that feels like they know somebody particular in the community that highlights that uniqueness of Owensboro, or the mentalities that reinforce positive images in the community, obviously we won't have those people in here.
Yeah.
Because we've sat and talked to people that just have that negative mindset, and it's like everybody can feel that. Everybody can feel the negativity,
Right.
draw off, and nobody wants that. We don't want the negative energy in here unless it's to get it out so that we can talk about it and put it into something else. Like you said, like using that energy to make something positive out of it.
Yeah.
And everybody has that ability to do it. So, like I said, we're always willing to have anybody in here. Don't feel like you have to have a brand or something behind you. That's
right.
like literally like I
You
remember.
don't have to release a new album to come in here.
Yeah, I had
It's a lot of work if you want to go down that road.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear it.
I had like 2 or 3
But
people.
somebody came in, you were like, why did you release this album? I've been working for 3 years to get on this
Get on the
podcast.
show. Like, bro, you could have just asked like 3 years ago. Fuck, we're not that busy. We're not that busy.
Yeah, I know it's definitely fun though. We've constantly been trying to evolve with the times, and then also like sticking to like our core values in here too.
Also,
yeah.
if you feel the need to have to wear a face mask or ask us to disguise your voice, probably just sit this one out. This ain't the show.
Y'all have had requests for
Bro,
that?
yes.
So a lot of people want to be honest, but they're afraid to show their face, and I get it to an extent.
man.
But here's
I
the
don't
thing.
get it.
I do to an extent, because they're like, well, legally. I'm like, well, legally, take it up with a lawyer then. Don't.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of some sort of repercussion, then
Well, why is this your view if you're
Yeah.
scared to wear it?
Right.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's tough when people ask that of us, because we want to be as open as possible. Like
Right.
we can't even do scripts anymore. The most scripts that we can do is for our sponsors, and that's for obviously particular reasons.
Right.
But we used to have such particular scripts that were like, this is why you're in here. Here, let's talk about this particularly. And that just takes all the fun out of this podcast.
sure.
And too, as somebody who's hosted a podcast yourself, sometimes it helps to have those training wheels where it's like,
Right.
these are the kind of questions that I should ask this person. And a lot of times it comes out really robotic because you
It sounds atrocious.
yeah.
We did that like 3 years ago when we first started the show. We tried to type out an outline of things we wanted to cover,
Right.
and that was okay. But it became okay, great, and next question. It's there's no there's no back and forth.
Yeah.
Felt like more like a more of a official production feel, so it felt
Yeah.
less authentic. Then
And that's my favorite thing about a
Yeah.
podcast is that to me a podcast is something you should feel like you're looking in a window.
You're looking
to-
into a little conversation.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
happening.
exactly,
exactly.
man. It should be that loose. If
That's
not, it's a
why-
radio interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I've did both. I've did radio
Yeah.
interviews.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're very you go into them, and for one, you've only got a 3-minute spot or
Yeah.
something. It's all right, 3 minutes. Here's what we need to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what we need to say. 3, 2, and we're live.
Yeah.
And it's you look like you're hanging on to
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
seat.
don't cuss, don't say anything stupid, don't say anything
No,
stupid.
exactly, man. It's something else, man.
That's
cookie
the
cutter,
main
yeah.
reason that we redid the whole studio. I know last time you were in, it was very white walls, very it drove me crazy. I told
Yeah.
Chase for weeks, it's bro, if we don't do something, I'm gonna lose my mind in this room.
Yeah.
It's white walls. We got a couple soundboards, foam
Right.
pads up, and I was like, dude, nothing in this room inspires me to talk about fucking anything.
Right.
Like it is an idea killer in this room.
I
So
love it, man.
yeah, like I
Let's
built
go
that
to
table specifically for that corner, and we got this giant tapestry, so you know exactly who the fuck we are in this room.
Where did you guys get that, if you don't mind
We
me
order it
asking?
from Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart.
Really?
Walmart
Yeah.
will put
Kidding.
anything on any surface if you pay.
I got a really
No
big one. It just has
kidding,
a
man.
big dick on it. It's behind that one. Yeah, it's for a different pod.
It's for the late night podcast.
What is the thing, everybody? It's your OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. It's my OnlyFans, 100%. But yeah, we sticker bomb the table. A lot of it just, we had 4 light bulbs in. Now we just have 1.
Right.
And we got like our string lights. It's more somber. It's more
It does.
homey. It's more comfortable.
It feels comfortable in here, man.
Hoping to
It
just
really
fill
does.
this place up with random knickknacks until people think that we're even more crazy than we really are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what
Got a little wet bar over there. I'm so proud of that, man. It's filled
Yeah.
out too. We got a bunch of shit over there now. Half a gallon.
Jacob no, he was over here and he was like, "Man, I'm gonna make a cabinet for the podcast room." And I was like, "Oh boy,
I was like, well, listen.
I've never made one, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so we always drink on this show, like
Yeah.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
I was like, we need a little wet bar in here, you know?
Right.
So I took some measurements, and the thing about that top is that it's 2 1x6s screwed together and then cut into a triangle.
Huh.
And so I took the measurements of how long it needed to be on each side, right?
Right.
And so I was staring at 2 2x6s going, how the fuck do I make this a triangle? Like, I thought in my head it was way easy. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll just mark it out, cut it with a fucking circular saw, bing,
Yeah.
bang, boom, wet bar. And so I was staring and I was like, I think I need to call my dad.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
called dad and he's like, okay, so yeah, first of all, you have to do this math equation. You were taught it in high school, dumbass. Like, so we worked that out, and then he was like, okay, so now take your tape measure and a pencil on the end of your tape measure and do this circle and then this one, and then where those intersect, come down with that. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I got you on the phone.
yeah,
But
definitely.
you learned something, man.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah, I
awesome?
mean, I
man?
forgot
think
it
it's awesome
immediately,
when
but
people-
yeah.
yeah, but you know, like,
It turned out pretty good, and I hand painted a logo on the top.
Yeah, that was I was like,
those
Jacob,
projects are so good
It's
for
so
you,
fun,
though,
dude.
man. They're
Yeah,
so
I
good
have so
for
much
you,
fun.
man.
Very,
They
very
challenge
And
you.
then this little rack was outside on the patio when we moved into our house. We rent a house, and it was just an old, shitty, like sun faded garden rack.
Yeah.
that was just tossed over in the weeds. And I told Chase, I was like, I think I'm gonna renovate it, bring it in here, and we can put like our hobbies and our interests on it.
Right.
And so that's exactly what it did. I cleaned it all up, put some fresh black on it, painted the rack to red to have it stand out in a little more of our color scheme,
Hell yeah.
and just put some shit we like to do on there.
Hell yeah.
So-
And these are my paintings.
No, those are Jacob's paintings.
Are they really?
Yeah, and you can see how
Wow,
not
those
good they
are-
are, but they can't.
No, dude. those are
I was, I was like, Jacob, don't lie to me. I was like, Brooklyn painted those, and you just took credit for them. And he's like, no, here's pictures of me painting them. I was like, all right.
So, like,
Those are really good.
Brooklyn has
man.
introduced me to a lot of things that I didn't think I would like. So I've opened up her eyes in the world of food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was very, very picky, and I'm like, no, listen to me. There's more than just like ketchup and chicken nuggets. Like,
Yeah,
try a steak. You know?
Right.
But she's opened me up to like hockey games. I did not think one bit of me would enjoy a hockey game.
Mhm.
Boy, do I fucking love hockey games. I love them. I'm so upset I haven't been able to go because of COVID. But
Yeah.
hockey games are a blast. And then painting. Brooklyn is a fantastic artist. It runs in her family. There's a lot of good artists in her family. And she's got all these great paintings. And she asked me one night, we were getting a little buzz on. She's like, you wanna paint? And she's like, we'll turn on some stupid fucking ghost show and
Yeah.
drink our beer and just sit around and paint. And I was like, I mean, I guess like I'll probably just paint like a penis or something. Like I'm not
Right.
good at this, and I'm not an artist type. Like I'm creative, but I'm not like that kind of artist,
Right.
And she was like, no, just like get on Pinterest, type in whatever you want to paint, and then just try it. So I did, and the nice thing about painting is that you can always cover up your fuck up.
Yeah.
You just like, I don't like that, read it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So there's a lot of that happens, but it's fun to just sit down with an empty canvas and just turn it into whatever you want.
Those are really good, man. I'm not
I
just
appreciate
yanking
that.
your chain.
That's
here.
my favorite one right there. On
Yeah.
this one,
I like the dock one. Oh, my bad. Oh,
Yeah, that's me and Brooke on the end of the dock. You see the
no
little
kidding,
shadows
man.
there?
Okay.
was very sweet. I was like, oh, that's very
I
sweet.
like that one a lot. I don't know. I think I like the viewpoint. It looks like it's
Everybody's like, "What the fuck are y'all talking about?"
No, they can see it behind
Oh,
you. They
okay.
can see it behind
Yeah,
you.
this was my favorite because it's the one I did most recently, and I really feel like I got the dusk feeling, and the trees are phenomenal. It's the best trees I've ever done, and I finally figured out how to put in waves on water, because this is still not great, but like compared to this one, this is the first one I ever did, and those waves are ass.
Well,
But I have a good time doing it.
Oh
I think
yeah,
we-
man.
I think
It's
I think
gotta
we
be
just had-
relaxing.
Yeah,
My
it's
girlfriend,
fun.
she's an incredible artist too,
Really?
man. And
I'm so jealous of those kinds of people. Man.
dude, and I am too,
Yeah.
because that's something like I've never been able to put. It's just something I don't
It doesn't
have.
line out,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Like it's
What were you saying, buddy?
something I admire.
sorry, I got something very out of the blue as a comment. I don't know if either one of you know Janet Smith.
Not me.
Janet Smith. Well, she just made a comment. I shouldn't even be glorifying this, but it looks honestly like a spam comment, and I'm calling it out because I don't think we've ever had a spam comment before. And it says,
Are we to that level?
It says, "Congratulations! Kindly inbox me with your Cash App and PayPal now to receive money in 5 minutes. 100. Blessing for FEMA."
Chase, we need money. Message her right now.
Yo,
Message her right now.
Jenna, if you'd like to be a sponsor of the podcast, you can politely
Yeah. Send us an email, takecoverpodcast@gmail.com. Send that info right over, and we'll get on that.
Sorry, I
Janet.
didn't mean to
And I
derail
still can't see it. I'm still seeing the 5
Yeah, man, it's
messages.
fucked.
Man,
Yeah,
that's,
Facebook. I don't know what that is. Just very random. I was just wondering if either of you guys knew who that was, but
No
like
idea.
it's like with like emojis and stuff. I was like, what?
Terrific. If you click on the congratulations, it'll send like confetti on your screen.
Okay, I'm not gonna do that because
or
that,
it'll just pop up like big dicks. You know?
yeah, I don't know what. I appreciate your enthusiasm into giving money away for FEMA.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks. I guess. Anyways, sorry about that.
This is like probably a year ago. This girl on my news feed, it kept coming up every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. It was like, what was it? It was during these times, Walmart is giving back. If you cash at me $10, it
Yeah.
turns into $100.
Yeah,
$50 turns into $500. Like blah 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 blah. And she would post it every day, and then I would go back the next day to click on it, see who all the suckers were, and it was
Yeah.
deleted. And then she'd post it again. And so I hit her out. I messaged her. I was like, hey, is this legit? And she's like, absolutely legit. Just send me, send me some money through Cash App, however much you want. This is what you get back. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds legit. And so I typed it into Google real quick. I was like, FEMA. Some of them were saying FEMA. It was different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, Google is filled with fraud. Watch
shit.
out for this. And so I just like screenshotted that and I sent it to her. And I was like, what do you think about this? And then she just blocked me. Well,
Yeah.
fair's fair.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting a crazy amount of text messages from those
just
group
deleted
messages.
one. That's weird you
those,
said
those
that. I just
group
deleted
messages
one.
that like it's so funny because there's a bunch of like boomers in there replying all like stop
Right.
texting me, and it's hilarious because
I don't
was
know who you are.
yeah
That's my purse. I don't know you.
it's been
That's a King of the
chaos.
Hill reference, by the way.
Well, here's the ones that were I thought were gonna get me in trouble were the ones that were like from Jessica at Hotmail.
Yeah.
Hey, can you call me?
Kissy,
at like,
kissy.
yeah,
Yeah.
at 1 a.m. Like, stop. What are you doing? Who are you?
What
Why
the
are
fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
Do you know my girlfriend?
you were gonna get us both killed.
Please stop.
It was just funny because like I got one of them and then I got a follow up from like another woman. It's the exact same message, and I'm like, what is this? How did they get my numbers?
My texts always say my dad's name instead of mine.
Yeah.
Hello, Christopher. I'm waiting for you. Visit me at bit.ly.url.
Yeah. Y'all heard Theo Vaughn's bit where like he says that he will just he'll just randomly text like a number or a group or something, and he'll be like thanks everybody for like total random numbers, and he'll start a group and he'll be like, thanks everybody for coming out. Kenneth really appreciate y'all coming to his graduation. And he said he'll like find a random picture of like a Chinese dude or something and put on there, and like it's so weird. He said he loves the reactions he gets because he'll get like, who is this? Quit messaging me. And then some people will just be like, yeah, glad to be there. Congratulations.
Go right along with it.
Right.
What would you be?
It's hilarious. Huh?
What would you reply?
Oh man.
If not replying was not an option, would you be the glad to be there or the sorry, wrong number?
Well, I get messages all the time. People be like, "Hey, man, love what's going on." Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And I used to would just say, "Hey, thanks, man, appreciate it." But now usually I'll say, "Hey, thanks, I really appreciate it. By the way, who is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And then of course there's the old faithful. Lost my phone.
Sorry, I don't recall.
Lost my contacts. Who
Right.
is this, man? You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But
like
no,
you
most of the time I just say like, "Hey, thanks. By the way, who is this?"
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
the great thing about Facebook that pops out. You can just go to their profile, like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I do remember this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Scroll
It's been a
through
few
some
years.
pictures.
You just scroll back the picture, you're like, I remember that person.
Yeah,
I remember.
for sure,
Yeah.
man.
You would be the if not replying was not an option. What would you do? Because you would just immediately delete the text.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I used to get, I still get them from time to time. There's this man, and I'm looking for you too, Kent Rowan. I don't know what happened to you, and I don't know who hurt you, but I want you to be helped, and I don't know how to get you the help that you need. But there are a lot of people looking for you, a lot of people looking for this guy. And I would get these messages that are like, "Hey, Kent," and I'm like, yeah. Like I would just like the first few times, whatever, I don't know who this guy is, wrong number. But when they keep coming to me, and it's the same numbers, and I can see messages from before, like, "Kent, I need that money." And I'm like,
oh shit,
I'm like,
it was
wait.
probably DJ.
no, like, here's the thing is, like, I would get phone calls from, like, debt collectors that are like, "Is this Kent, blah, blah, blah?" And I'm like, yes. And like, most of the time I'm saying no, but I'm like, is this, like, a scam? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And eventually got to the point where, like, I was getting phone calls that were like, "Hey," and I'd be like, "Hello?" And they're like, you know who I am and you know what I want. And I'm like, who the I'm like,
All right,
actually,
my dick's out. What now?
I'm like, actually, like, I don't know who this is. And they would just hang up. And like, that's where I was like, okay, this guy's in some shit. I don't know what it is. And for years, I've had the same number since I was, God, I don't even know how old, like young.
Yeah.
And so like, I've never got it changed. And so I think a few months ago, I got a call from a debt collection agency looking for this guy. And I said, "Hey, I don't know, man, but I think somebody got to him. I think somebody got Kent." And the guy was like, "What the hell are you?" He was like, "I'm looking for so and so. Are you so and so?" I'm like, "No, I think somebody got him. Like, might have got him." And
Oh, man.
they're like,
Like
they're
Columbia
like-
necktied that dude.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
not see the news?
and I'm just like, I don't know what to say to these people because it's got to the point where this person obviously has racked up a lot of debt at some point in their life, and
Probably
like I was getting
gambling
points
addict.
where,
I was
yeah,
gonna say, especially
Yeah.
if there's people
Like it.
calling like, "You know who we are." That's
Yeah.
like
Right.
loan sharks.
oh
or
yeah, because these
something,
are
man.
like people with very specific voices, not like like, "Hey, this is so and so. I need the money." It's hey, you know who's calling, like the number on your dial. I'm like, because I would say, "Who is this? I have no idea who this
Yeah.
is." Like, don't try to play it off. I'm like, I'm actually scared now. Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
I would rather just get the the warranty commercials. Those are or the warranty advertisements. Those are the best because you can play with those guys. Like
Yeah.
you can play with the. We've been trying to reach them. Like you would not believe. What happened to my car right after you called me? It just exploded.
Yeah.
So can I cash in on that warranty?
I was gonna say, did you guys like prank call people when you were younger?
We did
We
that
did on the
this
show.
Oh, you did.
It was actually a huge hit.
I love it.
People
yeah.
loved it. People loved it.
We had Jordan
That's
Rose
awesome.
on from 97X.
Oh, man,
And we
yeah.
had him call every famous person he knew. So
No, he did it?
He called the drummer from Slipknot.
Yeah.
And like he called everybody, and we were just
That
trying.
is. I'm gonna go
Oh,
look at that episode.
Yeah, you
dude.
got-
Oh,
that-
no one answered.
No
one. No one answered.
He's like-
So I won't make you go through that. You should watch the episode. It was hilarious. I love
Yeah.
that guy. But yeah, I just got drunk, and he was drunk too. Hell, I think he
Yeah.
killed a 6-pack.
We were
And
having a good
was like,
old
bro,
time.
most famous person in your phone right now. He's like, I got like the drummer from Slipknot. I was like, call him right now.
He's like, "Oh, I shouldn't." And Jacob, Jacob,
Like,
do it. He's like, I should.
Call me Nike, bro. Just do it.
Well, you guys ever listened to or watched Tom Mabe? You ever seen
I
his
thought you were
stuff?
like, y'all ever heard of Tim McGraw?
Ring, ring.
No, I haven't heard
Is
of
he
Tom.
like professional prank caller, or what does he do?
Well, yeah, and he did this show. Like he got famous from just doing these prank calls, and then they put him on a show, and it was awful. It wasn't that great. But his most famous ones are these calls. He would. This has been 15 years ago when he was famous. I was in high school still, but he would hook a recorder up to his phone. He would just wait for like telemarketers to call him, and he would go in on them or whatever. But it was excellent. You'll have to check them out for sure after this. But I'll give you two of them because they're worth talking about. But one of them was a direct TV salesman or whatever trying to sell them direct TV. So they call and they say, "Oh, Mr. Mabe, thanks for calling. We've got a deal for you, blah, blah." And he's like, "Hey, can you hang on just a minute?" And he's like, "Hey, listen, be sure that you get plenty of prints on the body." And he's like, "I want this scene completely looked over." And he gets back on the phone and he's like, "Now, who is this? Did you say this? This is Tim from DirecTV." He's like, "All right, Tim." He's like, "Let me tell you something. You've actually just called into the scene of a murder. Mr. Mabe's no longer with us. We're looking things up right now. Now, where did you say you was? Because we're going to need an exact location on this call and where you're at." And the dude immediately on the phone, he's like, "Whoa." He's like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm just a salesman." He's like, "Let me go ahead and get off here." But he's like, no, it's imperative you keep your ass on the phone at this point. And dude, he hangs on to this guy for forever, dude. It was so hilarious.
Shit.
And then the second one was dark, but it was funny as shit. I thought
That's
it was
my favorite
hilarious.
kind.
This guy called him and was selling funeral plots.
Oh shit!
You know, and I've got those calls before.
I want a funeral plot, and they wouldn't give it to me because I'm not 25. What? Yes. I was like, anyone can die, right?
Yeah.
It's not just limited to 25 and older.
Jesus
What the fuck?
Christ.
This isn't car insurance. I was so mad.
Well, you'll love this. Anyway, so the guy calls in. He's like, he's giving this whole schmill. He's exactly that. He was like, death is never warranted. We never know when our time is coming. It's good to be prepared for you and your family. And he gets on the phone. He's like, "Man," he was like, "I've been sitting here for the last 6 hours." And he said, "I've been praying to God to give me a sign on what I need to do next."
Oh,
And he's
shit.
like, "And buddy, you just answered my prayer." And the guy's like, "Whoa,
Whoa,
listen, man,
easy.
what's going
Wait, do
on?"
I need
He's
to
like,
get
"No.
help?"
He's like, "You've told me the answer
Yeah.
to my whatever." But the funniest part is they get about halfway into the conversation, and he's like, "No." He's like,
He actually starts to
he's
sell
like,
him
He's
stuff.
like, "I think I'm going to do this." And he's like, "Well, I can take your card number."
God damn
I gotta see that. I gotta see
goes,
that.
They're so
Well, if you're
funny,
gonna do
dude.
it, go ahead and give me your Visa info.
Yeah, they're so funny, dude. Like,
Man, there's a guy. He's a pretty famous YouTuber, Ross Creations.
yeah.
He's been on YouTube forever. He does prank calls sometimes, and he did one the other day that I thought was unique. It wasn't that funny, but it was pretty unique. Where he called in healthy to work, and what he does is he sets up all the shit so you can hear it, but he calls into like random places, and he's like, "Yeah, this is Austin." He just makes up a name, and what's great is that he always picks names that are pretty common, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, what do you need?" He's like, "I just want to let you know, like, I woke up, I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm not running a fever, no diarrhea, nothing like that. So I should be there right on time." They're like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, no, I just wanted to let you know that, I should be in there. I'll be in there with bells on today. I got clean clothes." They came out that it wasn't really that funny, but it was just a unique twist on like a prank call.
You guys are familiar with Roy D. Mercer, right?
Oh, it's been a long time.
I'm not.
It's
No,
been a long
I've never
Oh,
even heard
man.
that name.
Dude, can you guys play one over the?
No, we'll get pulled.
Yeah, we'll get.
Yeah, we'll get pulled.
Oh, it'll be get pulled. I
Yeah.
got
Yeah,
you.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
they're not cool.
Check
with the
out
YouTube
Roy
and
D.
stuff.
Mercer. Then he was really about 20 years ago too, but he had like a CD collection out, and I think they had like a radio show or something like that. But he was this country guy, and he would call it. And people would call in and say, "Hey, get my," or they would send emails in, because it was such a big show, like, "Hey, I got a person for you to get," or something like that.
Yeah.
So they would call these people, and like this, I'll give you an example of one of his. Like he called this cafe, and he's like, "Is Tammy there?" I'm like, "Yeah, hang on a second." He go on the phone, and he had this character, and if you listen to him long enough, you got to know like he kept the same people in his story all the time. But he'd be like, yeah, this is Roy D. Mercer. That's Mercer. And he's like, Tammy, my boy Raymond came in there earlier this evening. And he specifically asked for decaffeinated coffee. And Tammy, I think you might have gave him some caffeinated coffee because he went out there on I-65 and he said there was a high-speed chase. They had to shoot out all 4 of his tires. And they got him down here at the Branson County jailhouse. And, well, listen, I'm going to need $400 to get him out of jail, or I'm gonna come down there and whip somebody's ass. And it's a recurring thing. Every one of them, he says he's like, either I'm gonna he'll call into this doctor's office and it'll be like, I'm gonna need a payback for that, or I'm gonna come down there and whip somebody's ass. And it's funny because whoever he's talking to, they get riled up. Man. Well, come on down here and let's see how big a boy. And he'll say shit, be like, well, how big a boy are you anyway? And he'll say, well, I'm big enough to whip your ass. And
man,
I'll put a popping on your head you can perch a bird on. Shit like that.
When we did it on this show, we did prank call roulette in a sense of where we would pick a number and wasn't it pick a number?
So what we would do is there was me, you obviously,
and the guest.
And then the guest, I think we mostly did with Saj because he had nothing to lose, right? And I'm just fucking around. But we would go around and the person to your left would be able to pick a number from your phone and you have to prank call that person. And so
they would say a number and whoever that contact ends, so 10, you go 10 contacts down, and whoever that is, you have to prank call and they get to make up the scenario.
Yeah.
This ended up with me having to call my Aunt Shannon, who I'm not close with, lives in Louisville, and tell her I was constipated and I needed help with it. And then anything she suggested, I had to say, tried it. Didn't work. And so, oh my god, it was actually pretty fucking funny.
Really fun.
Man, it was so hard to keep going.
The absolute gem of the one that we had was Dakota Kinzel's dad. When you're like, I'm having some trouble in the bedroom. I just want to know. It was so great. If you haven't seen that episode,
it was forever. I don't
we'll
even
have
know
to
what episode that was.
We'll have to clip that because it was so hilarious because. He called Ray first. God bless Ray. He tried his best to be serious. But Jake was like, look, I'm having some trouble in the bedroom. And I just wanted to know if you had any tips. I've tried everything, man. Maybe you could try something on me. And he's like, whoa, buddy. I don't, no. And he's like, I'd love to help you, but I can only help you so much. It's like, it was just so funny to see him be like, I want to help you, but I can't help you the way that I think you're suggesting I need to help you. And it was just really funny because we were kind of powerless and we were just hoping that they wouldn't answer. So some of the hardest I've ever laughed was on that podcast. I mean, my face was
you never had to call anyone, by the way.
Yeah.
You never lost.
Yeah. I never lost.
It was some kind of It was Rochambeau. It was something where the person to your left got to pick from your phone. I can't remember what the contest was that you won or lost at, but man, I think I had to do it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it was bad. Jacob kept losing at it. He was like, all right, we're not doing that shit again.
I want to check that out.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny, and it got pretty raunchy towards the end, of course. But
started talking about fucking Asian girls.
It was funny because one of our buddies brought his dad on the phone for advice, and he's just like, all right, let me tell you something. Let me tell you how you're gonna fix your problem right here, right now. He said, I'm 50 years old, but the wind blow right, I'm sticking right up. And we were just I mean, because me and the other guy, we're squeezing our mouths shut because we can't let him hear us just dying laughing in the background. But prank calling is an American pastime that does not need to be let go.
We used to go ham when I was younger.
Yeah. I remember specifically with TJ Divine. He was the most infamous prank caller that I've known because he could hit anybody at any time with
And first of all, he wouldn't do it for an audience. He'd do it for him.
For him.
Yeah. He called me in tears saying that, man, I just want to let you know, I'm finally coming out. This is really hard for me.
Just random, yeah.
And by the way, he'll never tell you it's a fucking joke.
Never.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He'll get off the phone, and you'll see him a couple of months later, be like, hey, man, you doing all right? He's like, yeah, fine, wow.
Yeah, he'll forget.
He's fucking wild, dude. He abducted Chase.
He's a character, and he's a character for sure.
He showed up at my house like last week. I'm not fucking with you.
I don't doubt it.
Me and Brooklyn, I haven't talked to DJ in a while. And me and Brooklyn were just watching TV, and then our doorbell sounds like a jail cell door opening.
Nice.
Like,
oh, nice.
Like, cell block 3. You know, like it's awful. So it scares the shit out of you, first of all. And no one rings the doorbell.
Well, especially if you know, like in today's time, like nobody just comes over.
Exactly.
Like,
without text or
I opened the door, and I think his name's Randy.
Yeah.
DJ's buddy.
Randy.
And he's standing there. He goes, "Can I borrow a cup of sugar?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you really need a cup of sugar? Or like, are you just fucking around?" And then I heard DJ go, "Ah, ah, ah," from the back of the truck. I was like, "There he is, motherfucker."
Well, I'll tell you what, probably
He's so dumb,
this,
dude.
we'll
And then he didn't even get out of the truck to say hi. They just left.
They just left. That's awesome.
So this,
He didn't visit with me, nothing. Just
the last time he had
that's even more awesome than me. Sorry.
it gets even more random because he showed, so I've known him for a long time, and so like he knows my limits of what's a good joke and what's not a joke to me. So he likes to stand on the boundary. And so one day I had my headphones in, I was doing dishes or whatever out there in the living room, and you know, my dog starts to go crazy. I'm like, somebody must be here. I look out the front door. Man, nobody's here. Whatever. Okay. And you know, I go back to doing whatever, and then she's still going ballistic. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And so I go to let her outside. And, you know, I'm like clipping her onto the lead, and I look up, and there's 2 men with ski masks, and one of them's got a megaphone that's like, "We are here to kidnap you. We are here to," like screaming just like random shit, like running at me at the same time, like, "We're here to kidnap you. We're here to kidnap you." So I let go of the dog, and the dog just runs up to him, and my dog's so sweet. She's just loving all over him, and they're like, "Oh shit, a dog!" So they just take off running.
Brave as fuck, man.
Yeah.
What if he was carrying? You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
First
the
of all,
thing.
he was.
That's the thing.
We
It's
always
like,
are.
Right,
when my dog acts like that, it comes out.
Right,
because
right.
like my dog only acts like that when people are here. Wasn't expecting guests, so better safe than sorry.
Right.
And I was like, here's men. I only recognize them because I recognize his voice. And I'm so glad that I recognize his voice because I could have ended terribly.
Yeah,
2
like-
masked men running at you
pretty-
from your backyard in
That's
like
hilarious, but it's pretty.
That's a
That's
a level,
what I
man.
think when I see. Have you guys seen those videos of like people walking through a parking garage and a dude dressed in like a killer clown outfit with a
Yeah,
hatchet starts running at him? I'm like, I would drop that motherfucker in a
Oh,
hurry.
yeah, dude.
Those are
mean,
generally in very liberal cities.
I feel,
They don't
I
do
feel
that
like
in
those
Texas,
are
yeah.
usually staged. Is what I feel like because
Yeah.
if you're doing that, you are a fucking like. Listen, survival of the fittest, bro. Okay.
No, some of them look awful real. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the reactions and stuff.
You'd have to get
It's-
them coming out of a building, like a workplace or something, where you don't think they're gonna have a gun on.
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I'm telling
It's
you. I wonder
fucked.
how many of those have ended bad. Though,
Probably
you know what I'm
several.
saying?
Yeah,
There's
it's
gotta
a
be
break, bro.
few.
Yeah.
There's got to be a few. I love Joey Diaz. I seen him on Hot Ones or whatever.
yeah.
And the
Motherfucker.
yeah, and then dude's asking him, he's like, "I know you're into," because he's into jujitsu and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right? Like I said, and he was like, "You know, out of all the techniques that you've learned, you know, if someone came to attack you, which one would you use?" And he says, "The gun, bitch." He said, "I've got a 22 pointed at you in my ass right now. You don't even know it."
He is, man, one of the funniest human beings I've ever. I got to see him
Oh,
down
he's
at
so
Zany's
funny.
in Nashville.
Oh no, dude!
And
I
I
would
tell you,
love
if
to
you don't
see
get
him.
it, if you get the chance, you definitely go check out Zany's down in Nashville if you haven't been.
I
It's just a
haven't, no.
comedy club down there, and they just get good people through there. I think
Yeah.
somebody drove a semi through it actually a couple weeks ago.
No, they did. Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, I think Joe Rogan posted about it, and I was like, wait a second, I've sat right over there. I was like, no, not Zany's, because like, I mean, Richard Pryor has been in there. I mean, you're talking about like, you
Yeah.
know, Dave Chappelle, like some of the top comedians ever have been through that Zany's
Joe
in
Rogan.
Nashville. Yeah, Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz. I saw Tom
Man,
Segura
one
there.
of all my favorite places getting like cars built.
Swear.
The rolling pin.
I know, I was about to say it too.
Right now, man. Like, what the
Bro,
fuck?
well, who did we get tickets to see? It was Joey Diaz, right?
Yeah, we got tickets to go
So
see Joey Diaz.
we
yeah.
went. We had a boys' trip down to Nashville, right?
Yeah.
Absolute shit show because the women ended up wanting to come because they didn't want us to spend the money on a hotel room. So like, we'll drop you guys off downtown. We'll go do our own thing and we'll come
Yeah.
pick you up. And like, First of all, they wanted to pick us up at like noon or at midnight, and we're like, the bars don't close till 3. Find something to do. And so we were literally running from them from bar to bar, but we were having a great time. Anyway,
hilarious.
we had tickets to go see Joey Diaz at Zany's in Nashville. Problem was Chase didn't get his ticket in time because they sell out really quick.
They bought theirs, and I go to buy mine, and they made the transaction, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, we oversold tickets. Sorry."
Yeah,
because they have very limited seating. So
Before they just refund you, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went to Coyote Uglies, and we were all having a good time. And there was a bunch of bridal showers going on. You know, girls on the bar dancing, shaking their asses up there. And so time comes for the show, and we all kind of look at each other, and we're like, "We gonna leave Chase behind, or are we just gonna like hang out and look at ass?" And we all went, "Yeah, we're gonna hang out and look at ass." Ripped up our tickets.
yeah, it was a good time in Nashville. Nashville is a place where you can find a lot of fun stuff. I mean,
love Nashville, man.
yeah, I'm sure there's a.
It's kind of gone downhill.
It's
here's
yeah.
the
Last time I went, there was actual human shit.
Oh God.
Yeah, like a lot of it. Like
See, I don't like to play in Nashville from a perspective.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's just it's oversaturated.
I was about to
There's
say,
not a
I
lot
feel
of
like
money,
it's a
not
lot
of
of-
money to be made
Yeah.
down there unless you're in the exact right club at the
Yeah.
exact right time.
Know somebody.
But I've spent enough time in Nashville, and I know Nashville enough that I know how to have a good time down there, man. And
It's a good weekend trip, man.
Yeah.
Just 2 hours away.
yeah, you know that's something I've never. I'm a huge stand up fan, and I haven't been to a lot of
Me either.
stand up show.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do once the world comes back alive.
Me too.
I'm gonna
We'll have to go
we
together,
should go.
man.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should all plan something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to go.
Zanies is like also you can go see somebody like Joey Diaz, like Tom Segura, or
Yeah.
Hannibal Buress for like $20 or $30.
See, that's awesome.
Instead of like going to a theater where you're gonna have to pay theater prices, where
Yeah.
you know, like if you want to go see, like I
And
went and
it's
saw.
not nearly as intimate.
Yeah.
Right.
See, the you know, because you've
Right.
played shows at bars, you
Right,
know that
for sure.
some of them it's about this size room with 12 people in it,
Right.
depending on the bar.
Right.
You know, and Zany's got the same feel too. Is people line up because they just seat you as the seating is open.
Yeah.
So if you're there first, you're front. You're right. I mean, Joey Diaz's spit is falling on your face.
Right.
You know, and it's so cool because
Andy Bashir not approved.
yeah. And it's so cool because it's such a small little place and you have such these big names and it has a different feeling than going
Yeah.
to theater. Because I went and saw Kevin Hart in theater a few years ago when he was in Evansville. And, you
Bro,
know,
I don't think we were even friends then. I'm pretty sure we had the same show.
yeah, for sure. I
Were
know
you
a
at the
bunch
Late
of,
Show?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was a
we
cheap
were in
one.
the same show.
So
all right.
we got
That's
like
funny.
the
Small
last
world.
tickets possible, and they were all the way up at the top of, what was it? Not the cost. It's
The Victory Theater.
Victory. No, it's I can't remember what it's called there in Evansville.
I know where you're talking about.
It's not a huge place, but it's a theater, and
Yeah.
you know, of course, they say you get your phone out, then you get escorted out.
Dude, there was
So
like
you-
7 people got booted before the
Yeah.
show even started.
yeah, they
No
were
shit.
yanking.
They were
people
not
out.
fucking
I
around.
think my buddy was at that show.
Yeah,
Maybe
and-
he got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was new material. They were not fucking
Yeah,
around
they
with
were
it.
not, because they were like, we're gonna sell this. So, but I get it. Of course, I get it.
Right.
But going to like a theater show like that, I was like, man, it makes me like appreciate bar shows more because
Yeah.
there is just a completely different atmosphere. Like the theater, you're all lined up, pointed the same direction. Shut up! You can't get your phone out.
Yeah.
So look, you know. The bar, of course, they're like, hey, no flash photography and don't be recording, like, and everybody can see you doing it.
Yeah.
See, in a theater, you may be able to like hide your
Right,
phone.
right.
If you're in a bar, like everybody's looking around, talking, laughing,
Right.
and stuff like that, you can't get away with shit like that.
Right.
And also, like, there's a mentality of like, we're at a bar, relax. You know, the DJ's cool. Everybody's got a more like, you know, a bar attitude about them rather than like you go to a theater show where it's like, shut up, don't make a noise, you know, don't get your phone out,
Right.
you know, all this stuff. And it's a complete, and of course the money aspect is a big
And
thing
you feel
too.
like an asshole for having to go pee.
yeah. That's the worst thing ever.
Sorry,
is-
excuse me. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah,
I got a big ass. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I seriously, I remember getting tickets for the show, and I was like, I'm so excited, and like they were bought for me as a gift, so obviously you don't look that
Look a
gift
gift
horse.
horse in the mouth. Yeah.
But they were actually the furthest seats, all the way in the back corner, and I was
Oh,
like,
damn. I was like
Thank
7
you.
rows back from
Yeah.
the stage.
yeah, and it was just because we waited, or they had waited so long to get tickets, but I was like, man, even the worst bar show seats are 100 times closer than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you can just see people, like.
Right.
I can't see Kevin Hart from the top of that theater.
Right,
He's
it's
a
gotta
short.
feel
I
so
couldn't see him from the front of the theater.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
It's got to
was
feel
small.
so disconnected.
Yeah.
It is,
One of those,
and it
man.
makes you appreciate those small bar 100, 200, 300 people
Yeah.
shows where like it is intimate, and if you say something, everybody can hear you. And like
Right.
like with Joey Diaz, like he had the same problem where he quit drinking, but people are like, Joey Diaz, here's a fucking beer,
Yeah.
and it's Joey Diaz. He's lewd, he's crude, he's
Right,
you know,
right.
he will say anything. So like people were walking up and giving him beers, and he was doing this move where we could all see him doing it, but nobody's really going to call him out on it, is where he just closed his lips and turned the beer up and set it down
Right,
and never
right,
touch it
right.
again. And so where he could accept the beer and be like, thank you, I don't really drink, but thank you,
Yeah.
accept it, and then like do the act of like, if I was drinking, this is what I would be doing,
Yeah.
set it down, and then move on from it.
That's a good move because
Yeah.
also it makes the person who bought it for you feel like, oh, he
Right.
did
He got-
something with it.
and-
Well, what I did for a while, because I've never been a beer guy. I've always was a whiskey guy.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would drink a beer at the beginning of the night. This is when I was still drinking, but didn't want to get super when I was
Right.
trying to taper off. I would drink a beer at the beginning of the night, and then I would take a shot and then chase it, act like I was chasing it with the beer, and spit it back in there. And the brown bottle, you couldn't really see
Right.
what was going on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good move.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Well, you got to come up with something, because like I've seen bar shows where the guy doesn't turn down the drinks, and by the end of the show he's feeling it a little bit too much.
Slurring and
When I was from 21 to 25, I've never turned down a drink, man. And
I don't
yeah,
know that I've ever turned on.
I got pretty good. I got pretty good at holding it together, but you
Yeah.
could definitely tell I was fucked up at the end of
Yeah.
the night. You know what I mean? But it was something else. The only stand up I've ever seen was I was on this little run that we did one time. We went through Des Moines, Iowa, and we were playing at this little club, but we ended up getting to go up a day early and go on the local news up there to do like a news spot.
yeah.
And Jeff Dye was on the news the same time as we were. You guys know who that is? He's a comedian. He's got a show. He was on some show on MTV or something. He was the host of it. I can't even tell you what show, but he's a stand-up comedian. He's really funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was on at the same time, and I didn't know who he was at the time at all that he was on. He's a good-looking guy. Came on, he's super tall. So we did our spot, and then he did his after, and we stayed and watched him. And I got to talk to him for a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, we came up a day early for this news spot. I said we got to spend the night tonight, and then we got all day tomorrow." For our show is tomorrow night, so we're for 2 days with nothing to do. And he's like, "Well, you guys should come to my show tonight. It's at the Funny Bone in Des Moines, Iowa." And he left tickets at the gate for
That's
us
awesome.
or whatever. So he was very nice, man, very nice. But that's the only one I've ever been to is the Funny Bone.
I went to
in Des Moines, Iowa.
see Kevin Hart, that same show you went to.
Yeah.
And then I went to see, I won free tickets from a radio station back when the new Super Troopers movie came out here a couple years ago.
Yeah.
They were doing Rabbit, the guy from Super Troopers.
Oh, yeah.
Had a couple of comedians, and they were doing like just a national tour, and they were going to the Econo Lodge in Evansville.
Oh yeah.
It was gross in there, bro. I was like, why is this the venue? But
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So we go in, and he's got like 3 comedians that open for him, and then he comes out and he like plays some songs from all the movies he's been in. Like, what's the one about the island? They all get drunk, and it's like basically softcore porn the whole time about a killer on the island.
No.
Oh no, I haven't.
If I said the name, you'd
Yeah.
know. I can't remember. Anyway, something Dread, like Club Dread or something.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like an island with a creepy killer or something. It's stupid. It's basically just an excuse to see titties like for 2 hours. But,
Yeah.
but the comedians were hilarious.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Rabbit came out and like started playing his guitar, I was like, I might just head on to the house.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. I was like, I gotta go pee, and then didn't come back.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. One of the comedians, man, I wish I could remember his name still. He was really funny. He said he's from Vegas, and he had, like, green, spiky hair.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of, like, local references, and then, like, for Evansville. And then he just did a lot of crowd work. Like, where do you work? Oh, you guys met building semis in Indiana. Who would have fucking guessed? Like, and he was like, y'all live here? You know, you could live, like, anywhere else. Like, Henderson's 10 minutes that fucking way. It was hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of crowd work and shit.
Comedy shows I would say are probably some of the best like date night activities that you
For
can
sure.
have. Because like you're going somewhere to have a good time and laugh.
Right.
And nothing is like better than laughing with people you care about, right?
Yeah.
You know, sitting in here laughing, joking, cutting up, and then, you know, same thing with like a comedy show, except everybody's laughing with you and
Yeah.
they're laughing at the same thing. So there's no miscommunication.
Right.
Everybody's like you'll be hard pressed to find people that stand up like, this is not funny, you know, like
Yeah.
and ruin a show. And if they do, you kind of want people to do that because the good comedians will be like, oh, your ass is mine.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know?
they're clowning.
They will go after you.
Time
but
to dismantle.
I've made it a point to like some of the cities that I like to travel to, like check out comedy clubs there because it's cheap, fun. That you know, you just go to laugh, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know anybody that doesn't like to laugh, and if I did, I wouldn't consider them a human because that's,
Mark Zuckerberg.
That is so. Don't you can't say that on here.
Easy, we're live.
Yeah,
Sorry, Zuck.
yeah, but seriously, I mean,
I'm gonna do it live.
You know you're my boy, Zuck.
Honestly, anytime somebody says we're live, I think of that fucking clip of what's his name.
not Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, it's
is it
Bill O'Reilly.
He's like, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah, and he's like, the teleprompter's wrong. Fuck it, we'll do it live then, man. He goes on this like 2-minute rant. Yeah, it's so
yeah,
funny.
definitely. I haven't
I've
gone.
always
to
wanted to go to
college-
the store.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
like,
man, that would be cool.
Yeah, and that was like a goal of mine before
Yeah.
everything
COVID.
shut down too, man.
I'm ready to go to Joe Rogan's new comedy club that hasn't been built yet.
Oh, in
Oh,
Texas.
I know, dude. That
Yeah.
sounds so great.
Yeah, I want to go to Texas anyway, so that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had plans. I was gonna give my left kidney and get a ticket to that Dave Chappelle
Oh,
and Joe Rogan
man.
show in
Yeah.
Nashville.
Dude, did you try to get tickets for that?
Oh yeah,
You need
They
both
were
kidneys, by the way.
Yeah,
He
it was
posted.
outrageous.
Joe Rogan posted online they were gonna go pre-sale at 11 a.m. on this website. Blah blah blah. So I'm on this website at 10:45 a.m. It said that I was 332nd thousandth in line. Like,
Oh shit.
yeah, like 332,000 I think in line, and I was like 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
And it was like we sell tickets first come first serve. I was like, oh, so fuck me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Jesus
like
Christ,
I just
man.
waited. Like I had nothing better to do, so I just waited. I was like, well, I guess I'll see if I ever get in there. So I did finally get in there, and I was like, this is crazy. There's still tickets left. $2,000. $2,000, $3,000,
wow.
3,500, 4,000, and they were like all really good seats left.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why.
Yep,
And I
yep.
decided to just leave, and the next person got to see the $4,000 price tag.
And
to see
leave
that
too.
show.
Yeah, man, you want to know? This is random as fuck, but I had this method, and it was a method I've perfected over a long time about going to concerts or shows and getting the good seats. When I was younger, my dad would always buy the cheapest seats he could, and then we would go in and we'd kind of just game seats down
Yeah.
below that nobody was sitting in. We'd
Yeah.
go sit on them. Well, then eventually what happens is somebody comes along, they're like, oh, this is my seat. So then you just play the dumb card and you're like,
Oh, my bad.
hang
Yeah,
on
I
a
thought
second.
this was. Oh, it says K.
it is
Sorry,
your seat,
man.
boss. We did.
Yeah.
So anyway, a couple years ago, I perfected it.
Everybody been there.
I perfected it a little bit though, man. And this is free information. Right?
You hit him in the nuts and run away. Fuck you!
I'm out. No, so here's what I would do. So I got to thinking about it, and I was like, because I don't give a shit. I'll go to the next seat or whatever. But I got to thinking about it. I was like, how could you miss this? And my thinking was, there was always seats after the show got going that weren't filled, that they didn't
Always.
sell. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So here's what you do. Buy the cheapest seats that you can or whatever, if that's your thing, and go to the show, and before you go in, find out when they close the gates to sell the tickets, right? Well, right before you go in, or before they close the gate, go in and act like you're going to buy tickets. And a lot of times what it'll do is, depending on where you're at, it'll give you the option of where you want to sit on a lot of sites. So literally you go 3 minutes before they're about to close the gate, and what you do is you write down the seats that are
seats that are
still available.
available.
Because you know they're not going to sell them. They're about to close the gate on these. They're
Right.
not going to sell those tickets. So you just write them down on the back of your ticket. You go in and sit down in those seats. They didn't sell them. And the thing is, the people
It's
that
free
are,
real estate.
well, the people that and the people that are running the gate, they don't know who goes
Yeah.
where.
They
You
don't
know
give
what
a
I'm
shit
saying?
either.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
as long as somebody's not like, hey, he's in my seat.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's
They
a
don't
dispute,
care.
they'll care. Yeah.
So yeah, me and a buddy of mine went and seen Jason Isbell. Last year.
That's
we,
awesome,
And
man.
we pulled that off, and it works, man.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
there was free real estate, like you said. They didn't sell the seats, so it's like, why not?
I mean, that's a
Absolutely.
good point. Yeah, because you've just got so much space in some of those spots, and
Yeah.
there are going to be like the 1 and 2 random seats laying around that like nobody picks up because either they're
Yeah.
too expensive or like you want to go with your friends and you're not just going to buy one seat over here and one seat over
right.
there. So like people will be like, well, I'll take I'll go way back here instead
Right.
so I can be with my friends. And like I had a situation where I went to a ball game with me, my dad, and my brother, and my dad buys extra seats so we don't have to sit next to people. And a guy came in and pulled that move.
You guys are so anti-fucking social, bro.
That's my dad.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll pay $200 extra to not have anybody near me.
Yeah. And so
Yeah, you know you could just buy the ball game at his
Yeah.
house, right? Like,
you can just watch.
you have a better view and no one will be around you.
Yeah. So
Zoom in.
It's so fucking silly.
So we go to sit down, and this guy is clearly in the seat that we designated as the our social distance
Buffer
seat.
zone.
Yeah, our buffer zone, our social free space there. And I went up to him and said, "Hey, this is our seat," and he said, "No, it's not." And I was like, "Well, no, here's our ticket right here." And he said, "Well, your ticket's wrong." No.
Oh, don't start this.
Yeah,
now
and
I'm
I
going
was
to have
like-
to hit you.
Right.
And I said, and
Now
I
I
said,
gotta make a point.
Now
and
I
I was
gotta
like,
hit you.
and this was an older guy who like the game had already started. He was locked in on the game. He did not want to hear me talk. And I said,
Right.
"Hey man, that is not your seat." And my brother said, "I think he's deaf. I don't think he can hear you." And my brother is a little socially awkward. He's in his teens, so he kind of doesn't pick up on social cues sometimes. And he's like, "I heard you guys the first time." And I was like, "So why didn't you get up?" And my dad's like, at this point, my dad's just like, "Whatever, just let him have the seat." And I'm like, "You paid for that seat."
The kind of guy who buys extra seats
Yeah.
is the kind of guy who doesn't want confrontation when
Yeah.
someone sits in
And
that
so,
extra seat.
and so I told the guy, I was like, "Look, like it would be one thing if this guy was like not who he was. Like if he was maybe a different person, I could have like tolerated like, oh yeah, hey, this is a seat." He's like, "Hey, yeah, man, can I please sit here?" Like even more. But
Right.
he was just like so staunch, like this isn't your seat. But see, I've got the ticket right here, and he said to me, he goes, "Ticket's wrong." I'm like, "The ticket is not wrong. We scanned it on the way in here. Like, what do you want me to like?" And so I was like, "Either you get up or I just go get somebody." He's like, "Go get somebody." And I was like, "Damn, like you really, really have to have that seat." And I told him, I was like, "It's not that big of a deal, is it?" And he was like, "Well, you're making one out of it." And I was like, "Why do we have to fight at the ball game?" And clearly it was because I was wearing different attire. So he's like, I'm not letting the opponent get a free seat in our house. That sort of mentality. And so I
Bro,
go to
I
the
would have made the biggest ass of myself.
So
I mean, no holds
So
barred.
check this
You
out.
know me. It would not have went well.
so check this out. So
Pick him up by his ear.
I would have ended up not being able to see that ball game or come back to that stadium.
here's the best part about it, where I was just like, this didn't have to happen. So I'm like, "Dad, I'm gonna go get somebody. This dude is making me really mad, and I don't like it." Blah, blah.
Pulls out a taser.
And like,
Move.
and my dad's like, "Whatever, fine, go ahead, cause a scene, whatever. I didn't tell you to." And I'm like,
Oh god.
So me and my brother go and get. I said, "Hey, there's this guy sitting on our seat," and it was a bigger security. We found the bigger guy. We
Yeah,
made
of
sure to
course,
get.
yeah.
We didn't get like the older lady that was standing over the corner.
Yeah.
Like, let's get like a big guy to come intimidate him. And so the guy comes over there. He says, "Come with me." And he's like, "Why?" He's like trying to fight it. And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "I know that's not your seat." He's like, "He just showed me the ticket, and you're not him." And he's like, "Oh, fine, whatever." Gets up, moves one seat, and sits down. And he's like, "Here's my ticket, whatever." He had this
A seat.
A
from his
seat.
stick.
He had to sit right there, and like And you know what happened? Later in the ball game, he said, I've been coming to Assembly Hall for 27 years since I was this year's age. And I sat in that seat 15 times, more times than you've ever been alive. And I kept hearing him go on and on. And I was like, man, one seat is not enough. I was like, this guy would not let it go. And he was mumbling the whole time. And what really sucked.
So his seat that he bought
One over.
was
right
one over.
One over.
What is with
One
people,
over.
man?
Because we bought his seat. We bought his favorite seat. Oh. Yeah, we bought his favorite seat. And
he's like, well, you're not going to sit in it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
People are
And
weird, especially ball games, man. Like,
it was bad because our team got their asses beat. So he's over there like, yeah! And I'm like, damn it.
right.
Yeah, and so now
I would
he
have beat the
can't do
shit out of
anything.
that.
And like,
I
I would have
couldn't.
waited by him at the parking lot.
Yeah.
my brother was, though. He was going after him, which was
I
funny.
went to
But
the bathroom, took my sock off, threw a bar of soap in that son of a bitch.
got the little puck from the urinal.
And I'd have waited for that son of a bitch.
Well, I tell you what, man, it was really humbling for me because I got to be like, yeah, get out of the seat. Oh, you're in that seat now. And because I felt cool that I was like, I got the boss on you, got you out of here. And he's like, well, here's my actual seat, and it's right there next to me still, where he could just...
What the guard say? He had to have been like, what the fuck?
He was like, he just shook his head because he's seen people do that all the time.
yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you're in the wrong spot, and where he's just... but I'm sure that guy's said that plenty of times, or ticket's wrong, and people are like, yeah, we'll just move down a seat because there's an open seat over here.
Yeah.
And if you bully people, I've seen people get bullied at shows out of their own seats, and I'm like, no, you bought it. So I thought that was one of the most ridiculous seat poaching stories, but I get it. If somebody comes up to you with a ticket, all right, you got me.
Yeah, well, just to tell you how like confrontational, some passive aggressive, I guess some people are. I've pulled the jouster I was talking about, where I was sitting in somebody's seat, and I knew I was, and in my mind I had it like, if somebody comes up, obviously I'm gonna move.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. But I've did that before, and people come up and be like, "Oh, I think that's my seat," and be like, kind of fake, "Oh man, it is," and then be like, "No, it's okay. You can sit there if you want." Maybe like, "No, dude, it's cool. I'll move.
I'll just go out in the parking lot.
You're also large. Like, you're a big dude.
Yeah,
man. Listen, I told Chase about this. I got in a severe
This
road
is
rage
great.
incident on the way to the podcast like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay?
This was
I was coming down Southtown. Me and this dude were like fucking drag racing practically. He cuts over in front of me. I'm cutting over in front of him. We're cutting each other off. Like, it's wild. We're both pissed, right? This dude turns in to go to the fucking Hucks over here. So he's turning left at that light. I'm like, oh, bet, motherfucker. I pull in behind him. He turns into the parking lot. I turn into the parking lot. He pulls out a gas pump. I'll pull up at the gas pump right next to him. I'm like, bet. I'm fucking worked up. Like, I'm all the way ready.
Yeah.
So I get out, and I was like, hey, motherfucker. And I slam my door, and he gets out, and this behemoth of a fucking man goes, what, motherfucker? And slams his door, and I went, nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm
like
sorry.
To apologize.
I went on into Hucks and bought something I didn't even need.
This was so funny watching Jacob come in here shaking like, I can't believe this is the man that I am. Like, it was funny to see him question his manhood after like being like, yeah, fuck you, buddy, to yeah, fuck me, I was an asshole, sorry, I'm going.
Oh my God. Listen, I'm an asshole, but I'm not a stupid asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know when to pick my battles. Guys.
Reminds me of Ron White when he says, they threw me out of a bar. He said, I didn't know how many it was going to take to whip my ass, but I knew how many they was going to use.
Guys, on that note, it is almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
and
man.
I need to go
Thank
to
y'all
bed.
for having me
Yeah.
on, man.
It's been
Seriously,
great.
it's
So
always
much
a
for coming
pleasure.
in.
It's always a
Glad-
pleasure.
Glad to have
Enjoy
you
it.
back in here. Glad you're doing well. Glad to see you smiling through the quarantine and everything.
Thank
Glad
you,
to see the album being successful. Glad to see all that. And, once again, obviously, thank you for coming back in and sitting and chilling and talk with us till
Anytime.
By
Anytime.
far, I don't know if you know this, but you are by far the person who talks in here the most. As
Yeah.
far as like our episodes are longer than everybody else's. Everybody
Hell
else
yeah.
burns out so quick, or they're like,
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here, man, or something like that. And
Yeah.
so appreciate you willing to have
3.5 hour conversations.
I love you guys.
I love it too.
I like you guys, man.
Yeah,
For
appreciate
real.
it.
Like,
Like you
I
too.
like hanging out with
So-
you.
And we love you guys.
So before
Tuning in every week.
before we go though, Josh, you got some dates coming up. Where are you gonna be at?
I don't have many, no.
But where are you gonna
I'm
be at?
still working at. Hang on, that's a good question. Oh, I'm at Milligan's here in Owensboro every Wednesday. I think we're doing 8 to 12 right now. So if you're in town here, you can catch me down there. And I'm actually at the Half Moon Saloon in Mount Vernon, Indiana, this coming Saturday. So. Yeah, you can check me out there. Both the Milligan shows are pretty cool, man. It's kind of a little 3-piece band I've got put together that's there every Wednesday, and then the one this Saturday is an acoustic show. So
Head on over to the Josh Merritt musician page if you haven't already on Facebook. Drop it a like. You'll get to stay up to date on all things Josh Merritt, as well as click that link that lets you buy some dope ass music, some dope ass hoodies,
Yeah, man.
some dope ass sock caps, and I even seen a bottle on there.
there it is, man.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like our page, share this podcast with your friends, and subscribe to us on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Thanks, guys. See you next week.